are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. I am just waiting for YouTube to show me that I'm live. YouTube says I'm live, but I don't see myself yet. There we go. There we go. Hello. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday stream. Generally, we do gameplay on the Wednesday stream. However, today, I forgot that I didn't do a tier set review of the commanders from the set. And every single time a new set comes out, the first stream, usually after a set is released, I like doing a tier list, a hype list, if you will, of the cards that I'm personally most excited to build decks around. It's not a power ranking scale. It's not like, you know, an S tier commander is the most powerful commander in CDH or whatever. That's not what I'm here about. It's just like what I personally am hyped to play, what I personally like, and, you know, it changes for every single person. So obviously, my list of what I would put at the top and put at the bottom would be drastically different from what you, I assume, would have at the top and bottom as well. So that's just to clear things up. I get a lot of like comments, yeah, in the videos being like, "Oh my God, you've rated this A, but this a B. Oh, what's going on?" And it's like, that's why. That is why. But hello, everybody. I see you all saying hello, and I say hi back to all of you. Let me quickly post that we are live on the broadcast setting. Oh no, that's double me. That's the worst. All right, let's broadcast that we are live. Where are you? There we go. Tier list, YouTube. Let's broadcast for 1.5 hours. I don't know how long it will take. There's not actually that many new commanders. There's only 37 this time, which, bless. Which I'm happy about. All right, let's post also on the Twitter. Capenna, Anders, internet, tier list. Let's share that. Okay. I've done my social obligations. I'm ready now. Hey Andrew, hey Scaredy Cat, hey Sean, hey Gerardo, hey Apples, hey Paul, hey Antonio, hey everybody. All right. So, I did the whole spiel earlier on. This is not a power ranking list. This is just a me personal hype list, so you can see. We'll go over all the commanders, what I think they'll be used for, and whether or not I like them. So let's get started. We're going to start it alphabetically. We got 37 cards to go through, and let's see how it goes. All right. So kicking things off is a commander that I'm actually pretty hyped for. This is Hello the Painter. This is the Grix commander. It's the face of the Maestro's Precon. It's a 3-mana, 1/3 vampire assassin with Death Touch. And it has a really powerful ability. It says the first instant or sorcery spell you cast each turn has casualty 2. And basically what casualty means is as you cast a spell, you have an additional cost, sacrificing a creature, power 2 or greater. And if you do, you get to copy the spell. So if you cast a instant or sorcery, and you sacrifice a creature when you're casting it of power 2 or greater, you get to copy it, which is super mana efficient, but it does require an additional resource of having creatures to sacrifice. It's a bit of a hoop because you do need to have creatures to sacrifice, and it's casualties too, so you can't sacrifice 1 power creatures, but this kind of opens the doors for a really cool style of Grixis Spellslinger, which is like Grixis Aristocrats, where you're trying to cast a lot of instant sorcery spells, getting extra value out of them, but you're also going to need to mix in sacrifice fodder to make everything work properly. So there's thankfully a decent amount of creatures, or not even just creatures, but like permanents on the battlefield that will generate 2 power sacrifice fodder very, very consistently, such as Talrand's Sky Summoner, probably the best of the best here. It always will make a 2/2 Drake, which is the perfect power to channel your casualty, and you make one each time you cast instant sorcery. So obviously, really works well there. Metallurgic Summoning is another really good option here. It will make an XX, where X is the spell's mana value. So as long as you're casting an instant sorcery with a mana value of 2 or higher, you can sacrifice those tokens to Anhelo's casualty mechanic as well. If you cast a 1 mana spell, you can't, but 2 or more, it works. And we have another one that does the same thing. Dika also makes an XX, where X is the spell's mana value. Dika also works really well with casualty mechanic as well, because it has Magecraft. So whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, emphasis on the copy part. So not only when you cast an instant spell, but if you copy an instant spell, like one copied by casualty, you get to make 2. You get to make another creature token, which is pretty sweet. Puppet Stitcher is, yes, another top option. It makes a 2/2 black zombie creature with Decayed whenever you cast an instant sorcery, which is, again, the magic number. Probably better than Talrand, even. Well, I'd say Talrand's still a little bit better. Puppet costs 1 less, so you can, if you're just worried about, if you just want to get casualty going, then Puppet's better. But Talrand makes 2/2 tokens with flying, and this one doesn't have flying creatures, and if it attacks or blocks, it gets sacrificed. So I think Talrand's still the best, but I think there's a lot of options. There's a lot of redundancy, which means that building a deck around Anhelo is pretty consistent. Anhelo is like a huge payoff card, but you're going to need a lot of instant sorceries, and you're going to need a lot of creatures that you want to sacrifice to get that extra value. Jadar. Yeah, Jadar is good too. Jadar is really good because it's like super mana efficient. You don't really have to ever pay more mana. Bloodcast is also another good one. There's a bunch of there's a bunch. Is what I'm trying to say, is there's a bunch. So Grixis Spellslinger is not exactly the most original archetype. You're not exactly reinventing the wheel here, but the interesting thing with Anhelo is the fact that you're putting together aristocrats and Spellslinger together, which is fairly unique. You don't see that much before Anhelo arrived on the battlefield. But so at its heart, this deck is Spellslinger, but it has an aristocrat's twist, which I like very much. I think the commander itself is pretty darn powerful. When you have such a unique payoff card, you really want to make sure that the commander is going to consistently be on the battlefield. So Anhelo being 3 mana really makes the archetype work, because there's not really a lot of cards that care about, mixing together casualty really in commander. There's not a lot of casualty cards. So having your commander be on the battlefield consistently and making that archetype work is important. So low mana cost is good. Having it be Death Touch is also kind of nice, because if you are being swung at by a large creature, you can just choose to trade with it with Anhelo. So overall, I like the design. It's pretty simple. It's pretty clean. I would put it anywhere between an A and an S. I just think, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling generous. I'll put it as an S. I like Spellslinger. It's not reinventing the wheel or anything, but I like that it kind of manages to put together 2 archetypes and does so in a pretty efficient way that's pretty easy to understand, I think. So I will put it there. All right, moving on to the next one. we're getting some big hitters right off the bat. All right, Benny Brax Zoologist. So I just went on how much I like Anhelo, and I also really like Benny Brax. But, and this is one of the first times I'm ever going to say this. Actually, I said this kind of recently too with Light Pause. I think this commander's a bit too strong for my tastes. It's a hot take. It's a hot take, but I do believe that this commander is a little bit too strong. So what Benny Brax is, it's a 4-mana commander, which, 4 mana, that's an amount of mana, right? It's a 4-mana 3/2, not great stats there, but it has Convoke. And Convoke says your creatures can help cast a spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's color. So if you have at least 1 white creature on the battlefield and 3 other creatures, you can tap all of them to cast Benny Brax for free. For free. So the mana cost is kind of what's the word for it? Misleading, I would say. Like, yes, you do have to pay 4 mana for it, yes, and you do have to have creatures on the battlefield, but it's pretty easy to get Benny Brax onto the battlefield and getting value for free, which already kind of sets some alarms for me. And then its ability, the payoff, the reason why you want to have Benny Brax is at the beginning of each end step, if you created a token this turn, you draw a card. So you can only draw a card once each turn, but it's not just your turn. You don't just draw a card once on your turn. You can potentially draw cards on your opponent's turn too. And I think the most common thing that people say about Benny Brax is it's busted with a very specific card. That specific card is Smothering Tithe. Keep in mind, Benny Brax triggers off any token, not just creature tokens, any token. So the most obvious card that is really crazy with Benny Brax is Smothering Tithe, where basically each opponent's turn, you're most likely going to be making a treasure token. It's very difficult for opponents to pay 2 mana to deny you a treasure token. So as long as they're making at least 1 treasure token on each person's turn, that's going to fulfill Benny Brax's requirement. You're going to be drawing a card for each person's turn. So if you have Smothering Tithe and Benny Brax on the battlefield, it's very easy for you to generate 4 cards each turn cycle, each go around the table, which for a commander that can be cast for essentially 0 mana, I feel is too strong. I think it's more okay because it is in mono white, and mono white's, the rest of mono white's card pool is poor, let's say, below average in terms of card draw. So I'm more lenient about seeing commanders that I feel are a bit too strong in mono white because they have a lot of compensating to do is the word. But I still think like Benny Brax is strong to the point where I'm less interested in building around him or seeing him, just because I start thinking it's a little bit too easy. And that's my personal opinion. I know like some people are really excited for Benny Brax. Like, yes, we got a really powerful mono white commander. For me, it's a little bit too far. It's a little bit too far for me, so I'm not that interested in it. I think if Benny Brax was like a 3-mana commander and didn't have Convoke, that would probably be the sweet spot for me. And I'm not like super all in on the Smothering Tithe plan. Like, yes, Benny Brax is crazy good if you have Smothering Tithe on the battlefield, but chances are Smothering Tithe is 1 card in the 99. White doesn't have unlimited ways of finding that particular enchantment every single game. So yes, when you do have Benny Brax and you do have Smothering Tithe on the battlefield, you're going to be drawing 4 cards each turn probably, and you're going to be popping off like crazy and probably win the game. But the next best thing after Smothering Tithe is significantly worse. Like, yes, you can still make tokens on other people's turns. It's definitely possible in white, but not as good. Like, the next best option after Smothering Tithe is not going to be that great. So the best case scenario is like you're probably not going to be drawing 4 cards a turn cycle off Benny Brax, but you're probably going to be drawing at least 1 on your own turn, because it's so easy to make at least a token on your own turn. Benny Brax is going to be leading a token deck. You know, you're going to be making a lot of 1/1 tokens, and that's something that mono white is fantastic at doing, you're going to be drawing minimum 1 card per turn cycle. I think sometimes in your best case scenario, you're going to be drawing like up to 4 per turn cycle when you're tithing off or whatever. What is the same best? I hate the meme, the my brother and blah, but all right. I guess the meme is the meme. Anyway, so best case scenario, cards busted. Second best case scenario, it's very, very, very strong. I think the Convoke is kind of like too much. Personally, I don't like the Convoke thing. A little bit too strong for my taste. The other one that was too strong for my taste, that I also just have no interest in, is Light Pause. I think Light Pause is also just too strong as well. But you know what? If you want to have a high-powered mono-white commander and you want to be playing against, high-powered decks, like Hirtat Yovas or whatever, then you do need a high-power commander. So I guess it's kind of good in that regard. Where would I put it? I would probably put it as a B for Benny. A B or an A. Like, I appreciate the fact that mono white does need high power commanders to sit at high power tables, but I feel like it got pushed a little bit too much. A little bit too much for me. Idyllic Tutor, Unlightened Tutor. There's basically those two. Yeah. There's like there's the one that puts it on top of your library. It's a creature. There's a couple ways to find Smothering Tithe. A couple ways to find Smothering Tithe. Not that many ways in mono white that are good. I'm not gonna be jamming Planar Portal to find my Smothering Tithe. All right, moving on. Best Soul Nourisher. This is a Celestia commander. Legendary creature, human citizen. It's a 1/1, and it says whenever one or more creatures with base power, toughness 1/1 enter the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on Best Soul Nourisher. Whenever Best attacks, each other creature you control with base power and toughness 1/1 gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is a number of +1/+1 counters on Best. This is a really big Anthem effect. White and green are very, very, very good at immediately throwing down a ton of 1/1s onto the battlefield. To make Best basically a lethal Anthem, sometimes at flash speed. So one card that is very good that will do this really easily is Grand Crescendo. It just came out in your Capenna Commander. X, double white, instant speed, create X/1/1 green citizen creature tokens, and all your creatures get indestructible. So if you have like 7 or so mana, you cast that for X equals 5, like at the end step before your turn. You make 5 creatures, you put 5 counters on Best, you attack with Best, and your creatures, you're attacking with Best, which is a 6/6, and then all your other creatures are 6/6s as well. So what is that? That's 6 times 6, so like 36? 36 damage or something like that, which is pretty good. There's other ways of doing that as well. What's the one? March of the Multitudes. I think that's one of my favorites. Wait, yeah, March of the Multitudes. It has Convoke, and you create X/1/1 soldier creature tokens with lifelink at instant speed. Oh, Best only triggers once? Oh, this card's not as good. Okay, so she went down a lot. Good point. All right, that's not as good. So maybe we'd have to be using like increasing, what was the increasing one? Increasing Savagery. 4 mana, put 5 counters on a creature. Something like that. So instead of like trying to buffer with just playing a bunch of creatures one by one, you could do that. But she's also really good with Oketra's Monument. So Oketra's Monument says whenever you cast a creature spell, you create a 1/1 creature token with Vigilance. So whenever you cast a creature, you're going to, if you have a 1/1 creature entering the battlefield that you cast, then you get 2 counters on Best. Otherwise, whatever creature you cast, you're going to get a 1/1 creature, and you're going to put a counter on Best that way too. She's still pretty good. I don't know. She's also very good with like Cathar's Crusade. So if you have Best and you have Cathar's Crusade, and then you cast like the March of the Multitude or whatever. March of the Multitude enters the battlefield. All your creatures get, some amount of counters, and then Best gets those counters too. And then when you each other creature you control with base power and toughness gets +1/+1. Yeah, that should be good. That should be pretty decent, I guess. Right? That's fine. Not worth the housekeeping and paper. I can understand that. Cathar's Crusade is definitely one of the strongest anthems in the game, but it is a lot less fun controlling it in paper than in digital. Legion's Landing works as well, yeah. So she's fine. I'm not that interested in her, personally. She's an anthem effect. But I like that she has a little bit of a unique twist to her. Like she cares about 1/1s, which not a lot of commanders care about 1/1s. It feels very Celestia. So, I don't know. I'll put her as a B, where she's mildly interesting. I appreciate what she's doing, but yeah. And we'll put Benny at A. I think Benny is more of an A. B for Benny would have been funny, though. B for Best, though. That kind of works as well. All right, next up, we got Cormella Glamour Thief, which is another Grixis, surprise, surprise, Spellslinger, because Maestros are all about Spellslinger, so all the Grixis commanders from the set are going to be Spellslinger as well. This is a Vampire Rogue, has haste, it's a 2/4. And she has a powerful ability. You pay 1 and you tap her to add 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red. And you can only spend this mana to cast instant or sorcery spells. But already right off the bat, she is a pretty powerful mana dork. She is netting you 2 mana as long as you're spending that mana to cast instants or sorceries. And she has haste, so you can immediately use her ability, which is super fun. But she also has another ability that says when she dies, return up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Benny's overrated. I don't think Benny's overrated. I can't show you on Commander Clash because we don't have the cards on Commander, but a commander that can cost 0 mana to cast is pretty good, I think. Is he overrated as a commander? I mean, he's mono white. The options you have at mono white for like most powerful commanders is pretty slim. You got Heliod, you got Light Paws, you got maybe arguably Teshar. Yeah, I think Benny's pretty darn good as a commander. Anyway. As for Cormella, I think Carmella is pretty strong, especially for what is just a uncommon card. She nets you mana, which is really nice in Spellslinger. When she dies, you get an instant sorcery back. These both are good things when played fairly. Like, she's card advantage, she's recursion, she's ramp, in Grixis. All of these things are good. But then she's also really good. She's also really good at enabling combos. So the combo, I did a short on this, but one of the combos was, I think it was Demonic Gifts. So the idea with this combo is you're going to need an instant sorcery that costs 2 or less mana to return Cormella to the battlefield untapped when she dies. I don't think there's a lot of options to do it. I think there's like Goryo's Vengeance, there's Demonic Gifts, and there might be like 1 or 2 other ones. So there's not too many ways of doing it, but there are a couple pieces of redundancy. And then the other card you need, so you need one of these, an instant sorcery that will turn her to the battlefield untapped, like this. Demonic Gift says, until end of turn, target creature says, when it dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control, and specifically not tapped, Has to be untapped. Exhume's another one. Goryo's Vengeance is another one. There's a couple. And then you need a way to sacrifice Cormella for 0 mana. And it has to be repeatable. And ideally, it should be some sort of finisher. So one of the best ways of doing that is Goblin Bombardment, which says sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to any target. So this is how the combo works. You have Carmella. You tap her for blue, black, and red. And it requires 1 mana to get this going. You spend the black mana and one of the either the blue or the red mana to cast Demonic Gifts, or whatever the thing is, to return her to the battlefield. Reanimate would work, Austin, but you are losing 4 mana each time you're doing it. Unearth works, yes. But I don't think Unearth is... Unearth is 3 mana, right? Unearth is 3, Cormella is 4. Yeah, this is 3, so that doesn't work. Anyway, Demonic Gifts. We're sticking with demonic Gifts. So you spend the demonic, you spend the black, and you spend either the red or the blue. Wait, what was that thing? Oh yeah. Yeah, let's replace. We're gonna replace blue, red. Wait, I'm missing something here, aren't I? Because then we're gonna require 1 mana each time, and we can't use it to. What was the final thing? I think it was Thermopod. And yeah, we're not using Goblin Bombardment. We have to use a sack outlet that generates mana. Sorry. So we can use Thermopod, we can use Phyrexian Altar, and we can use Ashnod's Altar. So one of these, we need to use a sack outlet that makes mana. Sorry, chat. I think I made that mistake also on the first short I made, and then I took it down and I had to update it. So Ashnod's Altar or Thermopod or Phyrexian Altar. So we cast Demonic Gifts off Cormella's ability with black and either a red or a blue. We're floating one of that mana as well, just the not black mana. Then we sacrifice Cormella to, let's say, the Thermopod. Sacrifice a creature, add red. So now we're floating 1 red mana and 1 either blue or red mana that can only be spent on instants or sorceries. When we sacrifice Carmella, she enters the battlefield again because of Demonic Gifts. And we repeat this process. We spend the 1 floating red from Thermopod to do this over and over again. And we're going to float either infinite... Well, we're going to float a combination of infinite blue and infinite red as we're doing that. Then we just need a finisher of some kind. I see that our Erebos. All these variations work. I got you. Then you just need a way to turn that into infinite damage. So Impact Tremors is one way of doing it. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, you deal 1 damage to each opponent. So each time Carmella is re-entering the battlefield, you're dealing 1 damage to each opponent. Or you can Grape Shot. You deal Infinite Storm to each opponent. Or, infinite death triggers. So Blood Artist is on the battlefield. You do that too. So that's the cool thing about Cormella is you can build her just as a Grixis Spellslinger deck. And you don't need to have any infinite combos if you don't want. And she's pretty darn good at just being a good Spellslinger style deck. You can even play around with her death trigger and you add an Aristocrats theme, kind of like Hello does. Those work absolutely fine. But if you want to increase the power level of your deck, if you want to play at a more high power table, you can introduce these infinite combos to Cormella to give her a bigger punch, easier finisher, easier way to close out the game. So I like both those two things. I like Spellslinger. Grix's Spellslinger is fine. And I like the fact that you could play her at a little bit higher power tables too, if you want. You don't have to, but the option is there available to you. So I like that. I think that's pretty cool for a uncommon commander. So I'm going to put her as an A. I like her. I think I wouldn't put her as high as Angelo, though, because I feel like Angelo is a more interesting commander in terms of you're taking Spellslinger and you're adding aristocrats in a very unique style way. Whereas Cormella is adding, you know, Spellslinger with potentially aristocrats, with potentially combo, but not in a way that is particularly unique or like opening up new grounds that we haven't really seen before. So she'd be an A- to me, B+ to me. I don't really care which one, but she's definitely lower than Hello for me. All right, moving on. Denry Klin, Editor-in-Chief. This is an Azurius commander. It's in the what was it? The Bant, or rather Brokers. The Brokers precon in the 99. It's not eligible to be your commander because at least for the precon, because it's Azurius and not Bant, and there's some green cards in the stock list. But you could just put this in the commander of, you know, your own Azurius deck. So this is 2, 1 white, 1 blue for a legendary creature Cat Advisor. It's a 2/2, so small body for its cost. But it has really powerful abilities. So when it enters the battlefield, you get to put a counter on it of your choice, either a +1/+1 counter, a first strike counter, or a vigilance counter on it. And we don't really get to see first strike and vigilance counter keyword counters on creatures that often. We got it introduced in Ikoria fairly recently, and I want to say fairly recently. I don't know if it was last year or the year before because pandemic time has no meaning to me. I really want to say that it was 2020, but I don't remember. I like keyword counters. So I like the idea of reintroducing it here. And then whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if Denry has counters on it, put the same number of each kind of counter on that creature. So if Denry enters the battlefield with a vigilance counter on it, you chose to put a vigilance counter on it, then whenever you get a creature entering the battlefield, if Denry still has that vigilance counter, you have to put that vigilance counter on that creature, which is neat. But also, if you're collecting different kinds of counters on Denry, then suddenly each other creature is going to be entering the battlefield with those same counters. So if you have a vigilance counter, a first strike counter, a +1/+1 counter, all of those on Denry, then the creatures that are entering the battlefield, the non-token creatures, are going to have a counter of each kind as well. Are you evaluating Denry for what it says it does or what it's supposed to do? What's it supposed to do? What's the difference here? Denry sees himself enter with a battle of a counter 2? What? It was 10 years ago? Yeah, Denry gives himself a second counter? What? Denry isn't supposed to trigger from himself. Denry enters the battlefield whenever a non-token creature you control, if Denry has counters on it. What? So does it come with 2 counters of whatever you choose? So he enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 plus a, or first strike or vigilance. So that happens, and it doesn't enter. It doesn't like go onto the stack. But then the other one is a triggered ability, so it does go on the stack. Huh. Whenever another token creature. I see. So it does trigger on himself. So if you choose +1/+1 counters, he gets 2 of those. If you choose first strike, he gets 2 first strike counters. That's weird. I don't know. That's cute. I don't know if that's game breaking, but it certainly is unintuitive. So I don't know. I think Denry's kind of interesting because I like tokens matters as a sort of like archetype because we don't really see that too much. Yeah, double first strike, but not double strike. That's interesting. That's weird. But the same number of each kind of counter. So if you have a lot of +1/+1 counters on it, you're going to put a lot of +1/+1 counters on the next type of creature, which is kind of neat. I don't know. He's interesting. I don't like the fact that it's unintuitive. That's kind of lame. But yeah, I think it's cute. I feel like some other commanders did what he's doing a little bit better, but he's kind of cooler in the 99, I guess. Let's put Denry in as a B. Solid B. All right. Next up, Errant Street Artist. I played Errant on stream last week. I played Errant on stream last week, and I'm going to be showcasing her on tomorrow's Commander Clash. So if you want to see Errant in action, check out wait, not tomorrow. Friday's Commander Clash. So Errant is a very unique commander. She costs only 1 blue mana, which is very rare. Usually commanders cost, 2, 3, 4 mana. And Errant costs 1. Only 1. And it's a legendary creature, human rogue, with flash, defender, and haste. She's a 0/3, so she can't kill anything by ambushing them, but she can block like 1/1s and 2/2s or whatever, which is kind of cool. But you're playing her for her other activated ability, which is 1 in a blue, and tap her, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new copies, new targets for the copy. So, what does that mean? The wording here is a little bit confusing, at least for me. But basically, you're looking for spells that say copy, like a copy target spell, but you can't do anything that says like you may cast that copy. If the copy says you may cast it, you cannot do it. It has to be only copying. So here was a confusing part for me. I had God Eternal Capenna in my playtest deck on the stream, which says you may reveal the first card you draw each turn you cast. You draw it whenever you reveal an instant sorcery. Copy that card, and you may cast that copy. So you got to copy the card, and I'm like, hooray, that's really cool. But then you may cast a copy, and if you cast a copy, you can't then copy it again with Errant ability because Errant says wasn't cast. So you cannot do that. You cannot do that. However, if you are, casting Mind's Desire, when you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. You can copy one of the copies of Mind's Desire. You can copy the copy of Sigil Tracer was one that I was using. You may choose new targets for the copy. What was the other one? There was like Meletis Charlatan. Here we go. Controller of target instant or sorcery spell copies it. That player may choose new copy targets for the copy, so you can copy that copy. If you copy a copy and then Twinning Staff the copy to copy it again, you get to copy the copy of the Twinning Staff, which is cool. What was another thing that didn't work? There was like a Lich. It's like triple blue or quadruple blue. Does anybody remember it? You can cast it from the graveyard. Does anybody know the name off the top of their head? I forget its name. Actually, you know what? I can just... Nah, I don't want to open that, actually. Demi-Lich. Yeah. So Demi-Lich does not work. This is another one that I thought would work and didn't work. It says, whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, copy it. You may cast the copy. Cast the copy, you cannot do it. You cannot. So... what it can and can't work with is a little bit unintuitive, I guess. But like you really gotta hone in on the fact that the copy wasn't cast. So yeah. I guess minor spoiler because I already did a stream on it, so I can at least tell you what I'm trying to do on on Commander Clash and on stream. You can see me try to pull it off on stream. But basically, I built, well, this is the stream version. I built a version of Errant trying to do one last thing that's on my bucket list, which is Eternal Dominion. Eternal Dominion, and I did a short on this too. Eternal Dominion is an epic spell that costs 10 mana, and it searches target opponent's library for an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card. Put that card into play under your control. Then that player shuffles their library. So you're yoinking one permanent from your opponents when you cast it for 10 mana, kind of overpriced, and it has epic that says for the rest of the game, let me click on it, maybe it'll be a little bit bigger. Here we go. For the rest of the game, you can't cast spells. At the beginning of each of your upkeeps, copy this spell, except for its epic ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. So this copy ability, this epic copy ability, does not cast a spell again, so you can actually copy it with Errant. So my idea with Errant was to build a deck all about essentially casting Eternal Dominion, copying it a billion times, as many times as possible when Eternal Dominion's the original is on the stack. Because if you copy the original version of Eternal Dominion on the stack, you get to copy it with its epic text. So let's say you cast Eternal Dominion and you copy it 5 times. Then at the beginning of each of your upkeeps, you will cast 5 copies of Eternal Dominion every single upkeep, which is absolutely bananas. Those copies won't have epic on them. So if you copy those copies, you're not going to get, if you copy, if you have 5 epic copies on each of your upkeeps and you copy one of them, the next upkeep you're not going to get 6. But if you copy the original bunch with the epic text, you're going to get a lot of them each upkeep. And then further beyond that, you get Errant. If Errant's still on the battlefield, you can't recast her if she dies. But if she is on the battlefield before you resolve the Eternal Dominion, then every single upkeep copy, you get to copy that. And I had stuff like Twinning Staff, which copies the copy. I had Maletis Charlatan, which copied the copy. Echo Mage copied the copies. Kefnet, I had in my deck, not realizing it didn't work. Whoops-a-daisy, I had Twin Cast, I had Narset's Reversal, I had a bunch of stuff to copy the copies. So, very cute. Very, very cute. I will say, as someone who played it 2 times, as someone who played this deck 2 times on stream and on Commander Clash, I'm not going to spoil how the games went. I will say, though, Errant feels a lot stronger in the 99 than in the command zone, because Errant's ability to pay 2 mana to copy a spell, you're still paying 2 extra mana. Being in mono blue made it very difficult on how you can actually copy spells. If you're putting her in an Izzet deck, or even an Hello deck, for example, Grixis, I feel like you're going to be having a lot more options on how to copy stuff consistently. Whereas with Errant as the commander, mono blue has ways of copying spells, but it's far more restrictive. So there were just less options for me to copy things in terms of deck building. So that's my warning. I think the commander is really interesting. I like the design. I don't think the commander is very strong, overpowered or anything, which I find more appealing. Very quirky, very unique. Overall, really cool design. I would say a lot stronger in the 99 of a multicolor deck as opposed to a commander, but I really like the design of it. It's very clean, very concise, and that's just that's what I want to see in terms of design. So I'm going to put her as an S, not because she's powerful, because she's not. I don't think she's very powerful as a commander, but she's very interesting, and I just like her abilities. Very easy to start brewing around and get inspired by. I think my one thing that I would ding her on is the part that wasn't cast. I wish you could just copy whatever spells you copy instead of having this weird restriction of you can't cast that copy. It's a little bit weird. Anywho, we'll be moving on. So we have so many, and my voice is going already. Oh boy. All right, next up, we got Evelyn the Covetous. This is another commander that, spoiler alert, I like a lot. This is 2 and then 2 hybrid manas. So this is a Maestro's commander. Its color identity is black, blue, and red, but you can cast Evelyn with hybrid mana. So it's 2 and then a blue or a black, and then a black, and then a black and a red. So you can cast her either for 2 and triple black, or you can cast her as 2 blue, black, and red, or you can cast her whatever combination of all of those. She's a legendary creature, vampire rogue, for 5 mana, 2/5, so pretty good, pretty big booty, like good in terms of ambushing creatures and deterring some attacks. Has flash. And it says, whenever Evelyn or another vampire enters the battlefield under your control, exile the top card of each player's library with a collection counter on it. Once each turn, you may play a card from exile with a collection counter on it if it was exiled by an ability you controlled. And you may spend mana as though it were of any mana to cast it. So she is a theft style, like Vampire Tribal meets library theft. That's basically where it's going from. Instead of having your vampires be buffed and focus on combat and everything like that, she's focusing on vampires entering the battlefield and then stealing spells, cards off your opponent's libraries. And this is particularly useful 2 different ways. The first way is you're generating a lot of card advantage. It's not card advantage from your deck, so there's going to be less inherent synergy options here. Like your Vampire Tribal, you'd much rather exile cards from your own deck, so you can get more vampires and Vampire Tribal stuff to keep the stuff going. But nonetheless, you're doing a lot. You're getting a lot of card advantage, and you're stealing your opponent's stuff, which has its own merits as well, for sure. Like if you're stealing like Cultivates and Green Ramp off the green player, and you're stealing great board wipes from the white player and stuff like that, you're gaining stuff that your colors would normally not be able to get. Now, the reason why I like this deck this commander so much is she is Vampire Tribal, and she actually manages to compete with the long de facto commander of Vampire Tribal, Edgar Markov. And the way she competes is not power-wise. I think Edgar Markov is still the strongest vampire leader, but I think he's too strong, honestly. I don't want to see stronger or as strong Vampire Tribal leaders. I like her because she competes with him at a totally different axis. First of all, she trades out white for blue, so you get access to different vampires that Edgar Markov would not be able to have access to, and she allows you to play Vampire Tribal in a very different way, which is not combat focused. It is theft focused, which I think is really cool. So she's not more powerful than Edgar Markov, but she basically gives people who want to play Vampire Tribal a very convincing alternative on a completely different playstyle of Vampire Tribal, which will appeal to people, while not having to be as power crept as Edgar Markov was. So I think that design-wise, it's really, really cool. I was really worried about how Wizards of the Coast can make other Vampire Tribal commanders now that Edgar Markov kind of exists, because my main worry is they'll think that they're going to be forced to power creep Edgar Markov to get people to play new Vampire Tribal leaders. But Evelyn clearly shows that you can encourage people to play tribes that have already a super powerful commander on them in a different way. So I really, really like it. Personally, and this is my own bias, I'm kind of wary of opponents constantly stealing my stuff, which again, it's very much just a me thing. And it's like a mental thing, but I've had a lot of opponents. Maybe it's because of Commander Clash. We had a lot of Crim, and then we have a lot of Phil, and both Crim and Phil absolutely love stealing opponents' libraries. And this was also a lot of the time I was trying to, assemble Cauldra, so it made it really difficult at that sort of table where if you exile my Cauldra piece, my deck no longer works. So I'm a little bit wary of these commanders, and maybe I probably aggro them a little bit more than I should, just because I've had so many bad experiences with my Cauldron being stolen. But I do kind of totally understand that theft is like a really cool archetype, and it's a cool way of, sticking to the power level of whatever table, because the quality of the cards you're stealing with Evelyn and other theft cards like Gonti is going to match whatever people are playing. Like if people are playing powerful cards, you're going to steal powerful cards. If people are playing janky cards, you're going to steal janky cards. So I like that. I like theft as an archetype in general. For me personally, sometimes being on the receiving end of it kind of feels a little bit bad, and that's totally just I don't have like a rational argument for it, but like it does feel a little bit bad sometimes when it happens so much. So I dislike Evelyn a little bit from that, but I gotta give it to her. I really like the design. I like the fact that Wizards of the Coast has given us a new vampire tribal commander. I like the direction the thing was going. So my bias aside, I'd give her a nice solid S. I give her a nice solid S. I can't not. Yeah, Crim stealing myself and laughing like a maniac. And like it only feels bad if you're playing a combo deck. And I guess I don't know if you call trying to assemble Cauldron a combo deck, because most of the time I wasn't even trying to combo off of her. I did manage to Cauldron combo eventually, but most of my attempts were just trying to assemble Cauldron, and that definitely was difficult for like 6 years, thanks to people like Krim. And Phil like loves his Blade and Thievery. Like every single time Phil is on blue, he will Blade and Thievery you, and there's like an art, it's a thing. So yeah, I personally don't like theft as much as maybe your average Magic player, just because I've been burned on it so much, but I like it. I'm gonna put her as an S, and we'll go from there. Yeah, also Wizards of the Coast loves theft effects. Absolutely loves theft effects. So there's a lot of printings of theft, and I hope we get more answers. Like Homeward Path is a good one if people are stealing your creatures. Brand is an old school one. There's a lot of narrow options in terms of getting back your own stuff. I hope that we see more printings of flexible get back your own stuff options. Blue is great. Blue's the best way of getting your stuff back, because blue has all the bounce spells. Like, if somebody steals all your permanents, you're sitting pretty with like a Cyclonic Rift or something. You're going to be feeling pretty good when you just put those back to your hand. But the Lord Conda saga is good too. I think I want more powerful options that are also flexible. So I just want to see more of them, basically. But that's my personal bias aside. Like, I'm no shade to theft decks. It's a cool archetype. It just I've been on the receiving end of it so much that maybe I'm a little bit more wary than other people. Anyway, we'll be moving on because there's still so much to go through. Falco Spara Pact Weaver. This is the family, the demon family boss thing, the brokers, leader of the brokers. I love the name. A+ for the name, Falco. Personally, I don't even care about all of its text. If I would be building a deck, I would just be building a Falcon Punch deck. So I would do like stuff like Savage Punch and stuff like that. This for the memes. So I don't even care about the actual text of the card. I would just make a meme deck about punching things. But that's just me. But we'll move on to its actual abilities. So it's Bant, it's green, white, blue, 4 mana, bird demon, 3/3, flying trample. It enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control, in addition to paying their other costs. So, in a fair deck, you would be using this to remove beneficial counters. You'd be building a deck that's based on, adding shield counters to things, adding +1/+1 counters to things, and then removing them bit by bit to generate card advantage. That's the fair way, obviously. But obviously, I have to inform you that there are also unfair ways of using this card, and that is with Persist. And most specifically is probably Devoted Druid. I don't know what that accent was. I apologize to anyone who is offended. Devoted Druid is it's a card that combos very often, so surprise surprise, you combo it here as well. Devoted Druid says you can put a -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to untap it, and it taps for 1 green. So with Falco on the battlefield, and a spell on top of your library, we're gonna have a way of fixing that, making sure we have a spell on top of our library at any given time. What we can do, you see, is we can cast the spell on top of our library by removing the -1/-1 counter on Devoted Druid to allow us to untap it yet again and generate a lot of green mana, infinite green mana, on top of our library. The way we're going to be going infinite with it, of course, is with Sense's Divining Top. Sense's Divining Top says draw a card and put Divining Top on top of its owner's library, and it only costs 1 mana. So you activate Divining Top, you draw a card, you put the top on top of your library. You see it with Falco, and you cast it with Falco by removing the -1/-1 counter off the Devoted Druid, and this allows you to draw your entire deck. Yay! You did it! You broke, yes, you broke the Devoted Druid with a Sensei's Top, no less. Who would have thought it? But anyway, the reason why I bring this up is if you're at a higher power table, I know a lot of my viewers do not like combos, but the point of the matter is that these powerful combos allow you to play at higher power tables. So if you're at a lower power table, just ignore the combo. You don't need it. However, if you want to power up your deck, if you are playing a Falco Sparrow deck or whatever, and you need to power it up to play against other decks that also play infinite combos that win the game pretty easily, then, you know, it's useful to have a commander that has these infinite combos that you can easily slot in, and you can still play the deck you wanted to play, but now you have a more popular or more powerful finisher. So I know I get a lot of these comments on like, oh, combos are so boring. But the idea behind these combos are they're entirely optional, and if you like the deck, but you want to play it at a higher power table, is you can now put these combos in. So everybody who poo-poos infinite combos, you don't have to run it. If your table doesn't like combos, don't run it. But then, you know, you got combos if you want to. You know, some people like combos. Some people are playing at high power tables. Now they have an option. What's wrong with that? But you don't have infinite mana. Devoted Druid doesn't make infinite mana, but she makes us 1 mana, and we spend that mana to cast Sense's Divining Top. Yeah, you don't net infinite mana, but you have infinite draw. So from there, I'm sure you'll figure something out. But anyway, that's the whole spiel on people who hate combos for the sake of I hate combos. Don't run combos. If you don't like combos, just don't run it. I don't know why you have to go out of the way to say how much you hate combos. Don't run it. Just don't run it. Who's making you run these combos? The combos are there for people who want to play more high power commander. That's fine. Why be a negative Nancy, you know? Just don't play it. Enjoy Falco Spara with the Falco Punch. I want to build a Falco Punch deck. I don't care about the combo. But if I was at a high power table, I would run it. Why not? Yeah, just play stacks or whatever. I don't know. Everybody's always complains about, oh, it's a combo. Well, yeah, just don't run it. Stop poo-pooing things just because you don't like something. Anywho, Falco Spara. I like him. He's alright. He's neat. He generates card advantage. He cares about counters. Nothing wrong with that. It's fine. I'm going to make a Falco Punch deck. Do I want to put him as an A or a B? A or as a B? Probably a B. Probably a B. Later, Antonio. All right. Here we go. There you go. Next one. So I don't know how to pronounce this name, and last time I pronounced her name, I got some comments that were upset at me for pronouncing her name. So I did not look up her name, how to pronounce it properly. But I don't know if it's a hard G or a soft G, so I'll just say Giada. Is it right? Is it wrong? Who knows? I'll ask Seth next time how he pronounces it, and that will be canon. Giada. Giada. All right. That's fine. Big G. Big G, Font of Hope. This is a 2-mana 2/2 legendary creature angel with flying and vigilance, and each other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. So, Giada is an angel, right? So if Giada is on the battlefield and you cast another angel enters the battlefield under your control, if you have one angel, which is Giada, it will enter the battlefield with +1/+1 counter. If you have two angels already on the battlefield and you third one is entering the battlefield, it will enter with 2 counters on it. If you cast if you cast something like a bunch of tokens with divine visitation, if you have like 4 angels entering the battlefield at the same time, then they will each enter the battlefield with 4 counters, one for Giada and one for the other 3 angels that are already on the battlefield. I think, I don't know how does it work when there's when you have multiple angels entering the battlefield at once. I think that's how it works. I think they'd be entering with a bunch. Would they? Maybe they're not. Maybe they'd all be entering with one of it, right? Let's say you have Giada and you have no other angels, and then you get 3 angels entering the battlefield at the same time. I think it would be 1. It says already. Okay, so you only get 1. That's not as great. But she also has another ability. Seth's pronunciation is Gaida. Oh, wow. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That's not great. And she has another ability that says she taps to add 1 white, spend this mana only to cast an angel spell. So the nice thing about Giada is, or Giada, the nice thing about Giada is that Angel Tribal costs a lot of mana. The average cost of like an angel that you want to play in Commander is going to be like 5 to the 6 range. And so if you want to be in mono white Angel Tribal, the problem is that your Commander options are usually focused on, big angels that are already on the top end that you already have too many options for. So you want something at the low end that will help you cast your other angels, and that's where Giada comes into play. I think, what was the other one? There was one from Dominaria that gave your it was Lyra Dawnbringer, I think. So a lot of people, when they wanted to build angels, they would pick Lyra Dawnbringer, which is fine. She's big. She's a 5/5 flying first strike lifelink. Everybody loves that. She even gives your other angels +1/+1 in lifelink. That's great. But she's 5 mana. And the problem is that your other angels are all 5 or 6 mana. What are you going to be doing in the early turns? You're going to be wanting to ramp. That's what you really want to be doing. So, in comes Giada. Giada is only 2 mana. So, you're going to be getting her onto the battlefield turn 2 every single time, as long as you're hitting your land drops, essentially. And she allows you to ramp into your angel. So turn 2, you cast Giada. Turn 3, you play a land, and then you can tap Giada and cast a 4-drop angel, which is fantastic. And then on turn 4, you can play a 5-drop angel. That's just with Giada. Like, if you have more ramp sources or anything, you can start casting higher cost angels immediately. She buffs angels as well, gives them +1/+1 counters. That's great to see. She opens the doors for, +1/+1 counter sub themes into Angel Tribal. Like, one really good card with her is Forever Together Forever. Its ability basically gives your deck resiliency. You pay 1 target creature with a counter on it. When it dies, it will return it back to hand. So, you know, if you have a couple angels on the battlefield, getting board wiped really sets you back really far. So if you have a couple mana up at any given time, Giada is giving them counters, and then you can use those counters to recur them back to your hand. Really nice. So Giada is really good in terms of that. I will say though, there are some downsides. First of all, while mono white is the primary color for angels, you do see angels in every single color of Magic, especially, you know, after such a long history of the game. And yet we don't really have any good multicolor angel commander support. So what I was really hoping for was for Angel Tribal is an Ur-Dragon. Ur-Dragon, much like angels, dragons are primary red, and they're also super top heavy. So the idea here, but they're also available in all colors. So the idea here is we need a commander that is 5 color, or at least, you know, multicolor, and can help you ramp out your expensive dragons. And Ur-Dragon does that perfectly. Eminence, everything costs 1 less. It gives you access to all 5 colors, so you can play all the dragons you could ever want. Timmy's dream. And then it buffs dragons further, but it's really the eminence. It's the fact that you're 5 color and you have a really great mana discount to your dragons to make your dragon tribal work and play whatever dragons you really like. Giada doesn't really do that. She kind of helps with the discount part, the mana dork part, but you're still stuck in mono white, which makes it really difficult to play all the angels you really like. So I like her. She's fine. She's better than the other mono white options for Angel Tribal. I think she's significantly better, but I still am holding out for a 5 color Angel Tribal leader that will help you cast your angels faster. Yeah, there's Kalia. Kalia is good too. Morophon is fine, but like one thing I've noticed with a lot of people, myself included, is you want a commander who is the same creature type as the tribe you're trying to lead. So Kalia is really close, but Kalia is a human. And Morophon is technically an angel when you choose, because it's a changeling, but it doesn't really give you the angel vibes you're looking for. You know, no offense to Morophon. I love Morophon. He's in my favorite deck of all time, and he's one of the best cards in it. But, I mean, when I think of I want a leader for angels, I don't want this. I mean, he looks great. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't really look like an angel to me, and that's kind of part of the vibe, you know? It's fine. It's fine. But anyway, that's my hope. I like Giada. I think she kind of addresses the biggest concern for mono white angels, but I'm more looking forward to putting her in the 99 of maybe like a 5 color commander, maybe a Bant colored commander or something like that, so I can play all the angels that I really like. So she is good. I'll put her as a solid A. A for effort. Yeah. All right. All right, next one. Henzi Toolbox Torre? I don't know how to say his name. I've given up on saying things correctly. This is the leader of one of the precons. The Riveters, whatever precons. I don't know, he's Jund. He's a cheap one. Just a black, a red, and a green for a 3/3 Devil Rogue. And he has some really powerful abilities. Each creature you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz. The Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. What Blitz is, it says you may choose to cast that spell for its Blitz cost. If you do, it gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, and Blitz cost costs 1 less for each time you cast your commander from the command zone in this game. So when Henzi's on the battlefield, you've cast him 1 time, so the Blitz cost of all your creatures is basically their mana value -1. -1 generic. So if you have like a 5 mana creature, then a 5-mana creature is going to be 4 mana to blitz it out if you cast Henzi a single time. And then if you cast Henzi more times, the generic cost keeps going down. Not the colored mana cost, but the generic one. I like Henzi. I like sneak attack decks. One of my first decks that I had in my paper collection, I call him Xenagod, but he is Xenagod, was Xenagod's God of Revels, which is all about, casting big creatures, giving them haste, pumping up their power, doubling their power, and then and then destroying fools. I've since switched to Porphyros, which is basically a sneak attack on a stick. 3 mana, put a red creature onto the battlefield. It has haste because he gives everything haste, and you sacrifice it at end step. So this is sneak attack on a stick. This is my current iteration of my sneak attack deck. And then Henzi comes along, and Henzi's a little bit different. You're not getting a massive discount, like the biggest discount on getting your creatures on the battlefield, but you get other benefits instead. So they cost 1 less, which is pretty good. They'll cost less once you cast Henzi more often. But most importantly is when they die, they kill themselves and they draw you a card. So that's the big bonus here. You're casting your creatures that you want to sacrifice for value anyway. You're giving them a haste, and you're replacing themselves by drawing a card. All really good things. So the mana, like, you can't cheat out a lot of things super fast, but it kind of evens it out by the card draw. It's more grindier, more long-term value out of it, as opposed to Porphyros, which is like you just vomit out your hand and then hope you find a way to refill your hand with other spells. Henzi is always going to keep your hand full of stuff as long as you're blitzing stuff out. And Henzi is in Jund, which means you have access to just a lot more creatures than Porphyros, for example, because Porphyros is just red creatures and artifacts, whereas Henzi allows you to cast black, black, red, and green creatures at the same time. So I just like the archetype. I think it's super neat. I love blitzing something out and then sacrificing them to greater good to draw like a bajillion cards. You can do stuff like Warstorm Surge, where you blitz out big creatures, and then you're basically doubling the amount of damage. You're using them as like just ways of either doming somebody or taking out important creatures. There's so much ways of just drawing cards off your creatures just being sacrificed, like Morbid Opportunist. It's fun. It's a fun archetype. It's very powerful as well. And I don't know. I wrote a whole thing on it. There we go. I wrote a whole thing on it, but my brain is turning into mush, so I don't remember everything I wrote here. But I hope it was good. Oh, the other cool thing is, unlike sneak attack, blitz allows you to get cast triggers. So if you're casting an Eldrazi, is it Eldrazi Titan? No. T. Eldrazi. If you're casting an Eldrazi Titan like Artisan of Kozilek, you get to cast it for a discount, and you get its cast trigger. So when you cast a spell, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You will get that if you blitz something out. You're not going to get that if you sneak attack it out. So the cast trigger is important here, and that's important for a lot of the best blitz targets, which are, Eldrazi. So where are you, Emrakul? You can like Emrakul somebody the Promised End. You get its cast trigger. You get to dome somebody for 13 flying trample. That's always really good. You got the Ulamogs. You got your Koziliks. All these big heavy hitters. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. You cast it for cheaper. You draw 4 cards. You annihilate somebody's board. Bada bing, bada boom. It's really good. Ulamog, you blow things up. You exile stuff. It's great. So Benzi's really cool. I don't know. I like Benzi a lot. I'll put him up there. I'll put him up here. There he goes. Up into the S tier. Up into the S rank. And also, maybe I'll put Errant as here. I like Errant, but not as a commander as much. So she'll go down a little bit. But anyway, that's how it goes. Judging for the Win did a video on Hensi if you want an explanation. Oh yeah, Henzi had some like weird wording, but it's like okay now, right? I think it got fixed. I don't know. Anyway, next up. Jaxus the Troublemaker. So Jaxus is kind of like a sneak attack almost. Not really. It's very different. This is mono red. It's a 4-mana legendary creature, human warrior, 2/3. She has 2 abilities. First, you can blitz her out for 2 mana, which I guess is okay. But generally speaking, I assume you're going to want to hard cast her. You pay 1 red and tap her and discard a card to create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, you draw a card, sacrifice it at the beginning of next end step, activate it only as a sorcery. So you have to discard a card, you have to pay a red, and you have to tap her. But you get like a discount Kiki Jiki at home type benefit here, where you make a copy of it, and when it dies, you get to draw a card. So you kind of make up for the fact that you just discarded a card. So this works really well with creatures with powerful ETB triggers, like I don't know. I don't even know. What do you want to copy here? I guess like a Molten Primordial would be pretty funny. You copy a Molten Primordial, you steal like 3 creatures. You smack with all of them. That's pretty cool. You copy, I don't know, like a Baleful Dragon. That would be pretty fun. No, what's it called? Baneful Dragon? Maybe it's Baneful. Nope. Balefire? I think it's Balefire. Is it Balefire? There we go. 3 times a charm. 3rd time's a charm. You can make a copy of Balefire Dragon and then attack with both your dragons, and you can blow up 2 people's boards, and then when it dies, you get to draw cards. It's fun. I don't know. It seems fun. Copy ETBs. That's fun. And you can also do stuff with the discard. Like you can discard Madness cards. If you have Bag of Holding Outs, if you discard the card, you exile it, and you get to kind of keep it because you can sacrifice the bag eventually and get those discarded cards back to your hand. So you can mitigate the discard costs as well. It's neat. I don't know. Doesn't look like the strongest thing, but it looks pretty... I don't know. It looks pretty interesting. Yeah, it's fine. That's a solid... That's a solid B. I don't know. Not super excited for Jaxus, but it looks neat. I look at it and I'm like, hey, that's neat. Not super hyped for it myself, but like, it's neat. It's good. All right, moving on. It's like Kiki Jiki from Walmart. Walmart Kiki Jiki. Yeah, that's good. It's all right. All right, next up, we got Jetmir Nexus of Revels. This is a Naya or Cabaretti, I don't know. It's 4 mana, red, green, white, legendary creature, cat demon, 5/4. So that's a pretty beefy kitty. It has an anthem that gets better and better as you have a bigger board state. So if you have 3 or more creatures, creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance. If you have 6 or more creatures, then your creatures also get an additional +1/+0 and have trample. And if you have 9 or more creatures, creatures get another +1/+0 and have double strike. So if you have 9 creatures, all your creatures have +3/+0, double strike, trample, and vigilance. This is a lot. This is like a lot for an anthem. It is, holy smokes. So much damage. At the very minimum, if you have 1/1 creatures, Jetmir is turning them into 4/1s with double strike, trample, and vigilance. So it's like beefing up all your creatures by at least 6 damage. And remember, they have trample as well. So at the very least, Jetmir is adding 6 potential damage to your 1/1s. But if your creatures have more power, then he's giving you more and more damage potential. So, yeah, Jetmir is super efficient. For 4 mana, this is a super efficient anthem, and it's on a creature. So that means if you put him in the 99 of a Naya deck, then you're in green. Green is the color of tutoring up creatures, so you can just tutor them up whenever you need that Anthem effect, and then just suddenly one-shot people. But he's also really good in the command zone, because if you have Jetmir in the command zone, you don't really need to add other anthems to your deck. Like, your Jetmir covers the anthem part, so you can focus your card slots on other things. Generally speaking, if I'm in a go wide deck and I'm looking and I don't have like a finisher in my command zone, I'm going to be adding like 4 or 5 even anthem effects to actually get that damage through. Whereas Jetmir, if Jetmir is in the command zone, then suddenly those finisher slots can be something else. So in a way, he's super interesting in the command zone. In the other way, though, your opponents will know that you have an anthem in the command zone. So anytime you have a critical mass of creatures, you are enemy number 1, and you must be dealt with. So you kind of lose the surprise of the anthem when Jetmir is in the command zone. But at the other hand, having a finisher in the command zone that's super efficient is also really good. I think he's just really good at what he does. Is he like really breaking new ground in terms of design or anything? No. But if you want to go Naya go wide, he's good. I don't know. What else could you want? I'm going to put him as a solid A. He's not breaking new ground. I'm not like super excited about playing him myself, but I think he just does what he's supposed to do very well. You know, he's good. He's good. Ginny Faye is probably a better Catmander. If you want Cat Tribal, probably Ginny Faye, but I'd probably just do Ren and Seri. But, I mean, like, I personally don't look at Jetmir and be like, Cat Tribal, of course. I look at him as, Naya go wide, of course. But it is interesting that a lot of people in chat looked at Jetmir and immediately thought Cat Tribal. That is kind of cute. I would personally probably go Ren and Seri or Ginny Faye. But, like, yeah, that didn't even cross my mind, honestly. He's just a good anthem for Naya go wide. Put him in the 99, put him in the command zone. Either way, he's good. All right, next up. Ginny Faye, Jetmir's second. Also Naya / Cabaretti. Also hybrid. So you can cast it for just triple green, or you can add in some red and white for flavor. This is legendary creature, Elf Druid, 3/3. If you create one or more tokens, you may instead create that many 2/2 green cat creature tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 green dog creature tokens of vigilance. This just takes your tokens. If you're making a lot of 1/1 tokens, this turns them into better tokens. You know, like, you cast Grand Crescendo, you make a bunch of 1/1s. Now they're going to be 2/2s, or they're going to be 3/1s. If you care about cat or dog tribal, this is a great way of allowing you to run more different diverse tokens that might be more mana efficient, but still get cats and dogs at the very end of it. Very nice effect. If I was going for like go wide cat or dog tokens, I'd be more interested in putting Ginny Faye in there as a commander, because now I can run more efficient token generators and use her more reliably to turn them into cats and dogs, which is nice. Then, of course, you can combo. Oh, I'm actually excited because I'm going to make people mad when I talk about combos. Oh, boy. So this is all for the combo haters out there. There's one that says, like, if a spirit dies... what's it called? If a spirit dies, you can... It's an angel, T-angel, and then it's like, oh, spirit. Yeah, there we go. Requiem Angel. Whenever a non-spirit creature you control dies, create a 1/1 spirit creature token with flying. So, here we go. It's a Goblin Bombardment, everybody. So what you do, you see, is you sacrifice a token to Goblin Bombardment. You ping an opponent. And then, when that creature dies... it's not a spirit, so you make a 1/1 white spirit creature token, but Ginny Faye's like, hey, wouldn't that spirit be cooler if it was a doggy? And Ginny Faye's correct. So you make a doggy instead, and then you sacrifice the doggy to the Goblin Bombardment, you deal 1 damage, combo, easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. And then you can also get that extra value against people who hate combos and always writes comments about how much they hate combos, and you can combo them with it. Ah, that would make me extra happy. And then you're feeling thirsty, so you drink their tears. Very good. Very fun. I enjoy. So I like her. In fact, I'd probably go out of my way to combo the people who always leave comments about how much they hate combos. I'll put her as a solid A. A for making people mad. There we go. Next up, we got Jolene, the Plunder Queen. She is a Gruul commander, 2, a red and a green, for a 2/2, legendary creature, human warrior. Whenever a player attacks one or more of your opponents, that attacking player creates a treasure token. If you create one or more treasure tokens, instead create those tokens plus an additional treasure token, sacrifice 5 treasures, put 5 counters on Jolene. This commander is super This commander is like pretty for me. I think the main draw of her is this part. She's basically a Zorn. She's a commander Zorn. Zorn says if you create one or more treasure tokens, you create that plus an additional one. And Jolene does the same thing. She makes an additional token. So if you're making treasure tokens one at a time, that's your max value. I don't even know how you'd be doing that in Gruul that easily, but if you do, you do. I mean, that's great. And she's also kind of political, where she's encouraging your opponents to attack each other and not attacking you. So you give them treasure tokens, you also benefit from that trigger, but you benefit doubly so. So your opponents attack one of your opponents, they make a treasure token. You attack one of your opponents, you make 2 treasure tokens at the minimum of Jolene. That's good. That's pretty cool. Her other ability, sacrifice 5 treasures, put 5 counters on Jolene, is basically fluff. Like, I pretty much ignore this ability. Like, it's not very efficient. It is not very enticing because you could just do so many better things with your treasure tokens, but it's nice that it's there, you know? Like, sometimes you will want to pump up Jolene, especially if you have too many treasures and not enough stuff to cast. You can just pump it up into Jolene, or if, you know, somebody's attacking you with a big creature and you have Jolene as a blocker, you can always threaten to sacrifice your treasures to pump up Jolene and eat that creature. So it's a good rattlesnake ability. Yeah, you can use her as commander damage. Tomer salty? No, I like trolling people who are always commenting the same thing over and over again. I like making other people salty. Yeah, so whenever a player attacks, I think it's an interesting like political type of effect. It's interesting. Gruul treasures. It's all right. 4 mana is quite a lot for this deck, but I think it's fine. I think it's all right. It's not super exciting. I like the political aspect of the first trigger. The second trigger is where the meat of the card really is. The third trigger is just kind of like a little bonus. It's fine. It's not super enticing to me. It's a solid B. It's a solid B to me. I don't think I'm too excited to jump in on playing Jolene, but like I wouldn't be opposed to playing her, you know? Anyway, moving on. Camis Obscura Oculus. This is a lot of text on a card to do something relatively okay. This is Obscura. It's Esper. It's 1 white, blue, and black. First Cephalid Rogue, 2/4. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. It connives. Then choose another attacking creature with lesser power. That creature gains double strike until end of turn. The idea here is that you attack with a creature. You want to attack with like 2 creatures to get maximum value. You attack with a big creature. You attack with a small creature. The big creature gets unblockable and connives. The other creature, if you do have another creature, you don't need to have another creature, but if you do, and if it's lesser power, it gains double strike. It's a big attacky anthem ability. Honestly, even if you're not giving a creature double strike, having a commander that says whenever you attack, target creature can't be blocked and connives is already pretty decent. The second part is just like a little bit of a bonus. I think the wording's a little bit clunky. I don't know why it was written the way it was here. It's kind of like a bait and switch type thing where you have like, I think the flavor of it is like one creature is kind of like the distraction. It has double strike and it's smaller. And that distraction allows you to sneak in the unblocked creature that's conniving, right? I think that's what they're going for in terms of flavor. But like taking that flavor and putting that onto a card in terms of mechanics text, I feel like was a little bit clunky here. Yeah, the art is good. Yeah, I could see it as a rogue leader, a ninja leader, because unblockable is just really good. Conniving is good. I don't really care about this commander, honestly. It attacks, it makes unblockable. It's fine, but it does nothing to inspire me, really. It's all right. It's aggressively okay to me. Yeah, he can reanimate. There's looting and stuff. It's attack focus. This is fine. It's fine. I don't know. I look at him and I'm like, I appreciate what he can do, but I just don't care. That's a C. That's a C. I'm sure he plays a lot better than he looks. You know, like this big old text of seemingly disparate information probably works better in practice, but I just don't care. I just don't care about him even a little bit. So that's a C for me. All right, Kid Kanto, Mayhem Diva. This is the leader of one of the precons, Face. It's 4 mana. It's Naya. It's Cat Bard Druid. That's a cool combination. 3/3. And when Kid Kanto enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 green and white citizen token. And at the beginning of combat on each player's turn, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control. When you do, target creature that player controls gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Goad that creature. It's a goad commander. It's taking go wide tokens and goad and mixing them together and getting a new style of go wide. It's go wide first and foremost, but it has that goad twist. There's been a lot of love of goad in the past like year or two, which I like. I like the mechanic a whole bunch. And this is a nice, efficient way of goading your opponent's greatest threat, as it were, or yeah, greatest threat into attacking. You can be goading, small utility creatures to kill them, or like send them into an opposing blocker, or you can just goad your opponent's scariest hitter to make sure they're not attacking you and attacking somebody else. So it's a very powerful effect. There's like a lot of stuff you can do to get more value out of your goading. There's like Vengeful Ancestor, which like pings them a little bit and helps goad as well. There's little things you can do. There's a couple cards, like maybe like 3, that if you tap the creature to goad, it will make tokens. So Mara is the best version of that. If you tap Amora to kick Kanto's ability, she will make an additional creature, which means it will make it that much easier for you to now, tap multiple opponents' creatures on the same turn cycle. Goad multiple creatures each time. You can also, find ways of untapping your creatures to make sure you can reliably goad your opponent's creatures every single turn cycle a little bit easier. Drumbella Roar, for example. But realistically, Kid Kanto, you can only goad 1 creature every single opponent's turn. So if you have 6 creatures on the battlefield, you can already goad 1 per each opponent. So you don't really need a lot of untapped effects or anything. But they are nice to have, and you can start building maybe like a tap untap style deck. There's not a lot of support for that style of thing, because trust me, I just looked it up myself because I was trying to build that particular deck. But it is there. It's kind of cute. I don't know. I like it a lot. It's a very cute ability. 4 mana is a decent rate. It makes 1 creature by itself, so you can immediately cast Kid Kanto, and the next person's turn, you can immediately use her goad ability. So making that token is actually quite relevant. I like it, and it gives a trample. It's good. Oh yeah, you can also use her ability on your own creatures to give them +2/+2 and trample, which is good. I don't know if she's good. I like her. I like that repeat goad. It's fun. I'm going to put her in S, I think. Yeah. She is fun. All right, next up. Cross Defense Contractor. If you want Go, just play Cardor. It's not like green, white, add anything to Go Tribal. But then no. Cardor is like a Blink style reanimator deck, and Kit Kanto is go wide. They're totally different decks. What? People like playing different flavors of the same thing. That's silly. Anyway, next up we got Cross Defense Contractor. This is the Bant one. One green, white, and blue. This is in the 99 of the precon, not the face commander. It is a legendary creature, Cat Advisor, 2/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a shield counter on target creature an opponent controls. So you're helping your opponents a little bit. You're giving them ability to not be destroyed. And then whenever you put one or more counters on a creature you don't control, tap that creature and goad it. It gains trample until your next turn. So Cross is pretty nice in that he allows you to get rid of potential blockers by tapping them down. So it opens the doors for your own attacks, but then it also makes sure once those creatures attack, they get goaded. So there's a lot of cool things here to do with that, like benevolent. No, what was the name of it? Benefactor. It was Benefactor. There's a lot of cards. No, well, not Benefactor. That's from Battle Bond. It's Battle Bond. Whenever you put a counter on it's support. Maybe it was support. Yeah, there we go. Generous Patron. It took me a while. Generous Patron says when it enters the battlefield, support 2, put +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures. Whenever you put one or more counters on a creature you don't control, you draw a card. So you can draw cards off Generous Patron while putting counters on stuff your opponent's control of Cross. If you're in green, in white, in blue, green is the primary color for +1/+1 counters. So there's a lot of ways of putting counters on your opponent's creatures. And then you're buffing them, but you're also goading them. You're giving them trample, so it's really easy for them to, get a lot of damage through. And just think of it as basically like a subtle form of control magic on your opponent's creatures. They're doing your bidding by attacking where you want them to go, and where you want them to go is anywhere but you. So it does a lot of indirect damage. It gets rid of blockers with its ability. It does this each upkeep. So its active ability, its triggered ability and passive ability work together really well. Yeah, Contagion Engine is really good too. All that stuff is really good. All that stuff is really good. I like the commander a lot. I'm gonna put him in an S. All right, next up, Lagrella the Magpie. This card it took me a very long time to understand how to read this card. It's Bant. It's a 2/3 for 3 human soldier. When she enters the battlefield, exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players until Lagrella leaves the battlefield. When an exiled card enters the battlefield under your control this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. So basically, for each player at the game, you can exile one target creature they control. So one for yourself, one for each of your opponents, up to one for each of your opponents. So you can, exile a creature that you control with a cool ETB trigger or leave the battlefield trigger, like a Reclamation Sage, enter the battlefield, destroy an artifact or enchantment. You can bounce her, or you can exile it with Lagrella, and then you can bounce or exile your opponent's singles scariest threat. And then when Lagrella leaves the battlefield, they all enter the battlefield again, but yours enters the battlefield with 2 counters on it. It's a Blink commander. It's all about exiling stuff with Lagrella and then, getting them back eventually with Lagrella. I think she's really good at kind of messing with your opponent's commanders, because you can exile an opponent's commanders with Lagrella, and then they have to choose. When it's getting exiled, they have to choose, do they want to let it stay in the exile zone, or do they want it to go back to the command zone? If they put it back in the command zone, then they can recast it whenever they want. But if they keep it under Ligrella, they have to make sure they remove Ligrella at some point, right? So that's an interesting conundrum. Like, if your opponents don't have a removal for Ligrella, then they're probably going to want to put their commander back into the command zone so they can get access to their commander again. If they do put her under Ligrella, and you have, like, say, counter magic or something to protect her, or like you phase her out or something, like, it's a little bit dicey. So I like her, but the wording, it was definitely kind of weird. It took me a while to understand how she works. This exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players, that was not the most easily grokked thing. Oh, they can choose to bring him back from the command zone? Really? Really? I thought if they put her in the command zone, they're not in the exile zone anymore. When in exile any number of target creatures controlled. Are you sure? Neotic, are you there? How does that work? They used to be able to bring him back, not anymore. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, because they're not in the. They were in the exile zone and they left. And before it was a replacement effect. Anyway, so she's fine. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever play her. I think there's more interesting Blink commanders, but she's there. I guess it's fine. I'll put her as a C. I have no interest in playing her. Here's another commander that I probably won't ever play. It's Lord Xander the Collector. This is a expensive Grixis / Maestros commander. It's 7 mana. It's 4, a blue, a black, and a red. Legendary creature, Vampire Demon Noble, 6/6, and it has 3 triggered abilities. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent discards half their hand rounded down. Whenever he attacks, defending player mills half their library rounded down. And then when Lord Xander dies, target opponent sacrifices half their non-land permanents they control rounded down. It's a very expensive commander. It's a commander that everybody is going to live in fear of because they don't want to be the person being targeted by these abilities, obviously. But you can use this commander politically. If somebody is ahead on board and is the archenemy at the table, you can be kind of like the Batman, where you're the hero that they need, but not that they deserve, right? You know, like, people are going to Lord Xander and being like, hey, you gotta save us from this archenemy. You gotta play your commander. You gotta, enter the battlefield, make them lose half their hand, sacrifice them somehow, make them lose half their permanents. And then you're kind of, you go from being this like archenemy style player to the person who takes down the archenemy, which is interesting. And I don't know, somebody's playing Lord Xander on this week's Commander Clash, so maybe if you want to see how Lord Xander pans out, is he going to be archenemy? Is he going to be the hero? You'll get to see it there. I think I personally have no interest in playing him. I think he's a little bit better in the 99, but there are some ways to easily get immediate value out of his abilities, like Bruvok, for example. If an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. If you have Bruvok on the battlefield and you attack with Xander, instead of just milling half their library, you mill double that. So you mill, let's say they have 40 cards in their library. Xander will say mill 20, and then Bruvok will be like, actually, you mill 40. And they get milled out and they die. So that's a really powerful way of taking somebody out with Xander. Just having people lose all their non-land permanents and you have like Turgid on board, that's kind of busted, especially also that enter the battlefield too. End of the day, though, Xander is 7 mana, so casting him is going to be kind of difficult. And the other thing is that, after you cast him one time, you probably are better off just putting him in the graveyard and reanimating him, because casting a 9 mana commander is really tough. It's really tough. So it's not like, I don't think he's a busted commander. He is definitely a scary commander, and he's somebody whoever's going to be the receiving end of the triggers is not going to have a great time. So there's that. But he's not busted or anything. He's fine. He's more powerful than 99. But yeah, he's not something that I'm personally excited to play. Like I don't get inspired to play him or anything. He's fine for Crim and everything. Crim will love him and more power to him. But I just don't care to play him personally. So whatever. He'll be a B. He's all right. I like the hubbub that he brought up, like the discourse that he brought to the table. But he's fine. It's all right. I've died to worse things. All right, next up we got Mari the Killing Quill. This is a 3-mana vampire assassin, 3/2, and she's basically a lord for assassins, mercenaries, and rogues. She says whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it with a hit counter on it. So right off the bat, she's basically kind of graveyard hate. She doesn't prevent death triggers like Rest in Peace or something, but you know they're not going to be sticking around in the graveyard. They're going to be exiled, so it's denying graveyard recursion, which is nice, while not affecting your own graveyard recursion. And then she says assassins, mercenaries, and rogues you control have death touch. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a hit counter from a card that player owns from in exile. If you do, draw a card and create 2 treasure tokens. 1 second. It's getting very sunny. Ugh. Ugh. There we go. There we go. All right. So she wants to be in a assassin, mercenary / rogue deck. She's a vampire assassin herself. Yes, I think everybody who ever looked at that card immediately whispered the name Etrata the Silencer, because one of the only other cards that deal with hit counters is Etrata. Etrata, you know, she exiles creatures and puts a hit counter on them. And, you know, if there's 3 or more hit counters, then they die. I think Mari actually is not that great with her, surprise, surprise, because Mari removes hit counters from cards, and you want to have hit counters on Etrata to kill them. Actually, wait, never mind. I take that whole back. I forgot the first part of it. I'm sorry. She's actually really good with Etrata. Sorry. I had a brain fart. Etrata requires a lot of work to get 3 hit counters because she needs to attack 3 times, and you have to shuffle her away, or you have to find ways of not shuffling her, which is a whole thing. Whereas Mary says, you have Mary on the battlefield, you kill 3 creatures an opponent controls, and then whenever you attack with Etrata, boom, Etrata dies. That person basically dies. You have to get basically 2 things dead with Mari first, and then the 3rd hit with Etrata will exile a creature if there is a creature. Even if they don't have a creature, they die anyway, if you have 3. So it's good. It's fine. Like, I don't know. Everybody had said Etrata, so that's cool. It makes Etrata a little bit more viable. I don't expect to see much Etrata after Mary enters the battlefield or is printed, but it's fine. It's all right. I think she's a little bit more interesting, honestly, in Rogue Tribal. Rogue Tribal, she's not a rogue. She's a vampire assassin, but rogues are in Demir, so they can play her, and they're very good at killing things. So it basically gives you another avenue to draw cards and make treasure tokens. Oh, they need to have a creature? Okay, so you need to actually have a creature for Etrata to kill you, which is whatever. It makes Etrata a little bit easier to kill people, but not to the extent that I really care about Etrata. Yeah, I think she's better in rogues. I would say she's also really good in assassins and mercenaries, but that's not really a deck. I might be putting her in my tribal deck. But my tribal deck has probably more consistent ways of drawing cards than her. It is like graveyard hate, which ain't nothing. And it is good in Assassin Tribal, if that is a thing. But yeah, she's fine. She's all right. I wouldn't build her as a commander though. She seems kind of miserable for that. She's a good C. Like if I'm picking her as like a commander, she's a C. Meh. Mr. Orfeo the Boulder. Whenever you attack, double target creature's power until end of turn. Meh. Meh. I don't know. Doubling power is like, I don't know. I played Xenagos for so long that if I really wanted a double power commander, I'd just go for Xenagos. Or if he was cheaper and gives you access to black, but like, meh. If I was building Rhino Tribal, though, that's kind of exciting. Rhino Tribal's kind of exciting. But he's not exciting enough. I think he might be the first D. He just doesn't really do anything for me. Alright, next up we got Ognis. Ognis of Dragon's Lash. This is another hybrid one. It's 4 mana, and you can pay triple red or add some black or green. So it's a Jund commander. Legendary creature, Viashino Warrior. I really like Viashino as a creature type. I'm waiting for Viashino to have their day as getting some lords or anything. Today is not the day. This is just a warrior that cares about creatures with haste, not Viashino specifically. Although a lot of Viashino do have haste. So it does work with Ognis. But it has haste, and whenever... Oh, she has haste. Whenever a creature you control with haste attacks, you create a tapped treasure token. So, haste tribal rewards you by having haste creatures by, whenever they attack, you make tapped treasure tokens. Who was I going to type? She's obviously like, you're in black, you're in red. You can put anger in the graveyard for easy haste. But, you're in red. You're going to have any way of making all your creatures hasty. There's like 101 ways of giving all your creatures haste, or just running a bunch of creatures with haste. Then you make treasures. They're tapped, so, it's harder to really abuse this because you have to wait a turn to untap your treasures and actually use them for value, which I think is good. I think every treasure token should enter the battlefield tapped. That's my hot take, is treasures would be better if they were all eroded to enter the battlefield tapped. But if you do have a way of untapping them, if you have like Amulet of Vigor, you can still, this one untaps all the permanents into the battlefield tapped. If you have some way of untapping them, you can do stuff like Aggravated Assault, if you attack with 5 or more creatures, and you have a way of untapping your treasures, you can sacrifice your 5 treasures, untap all your creatures, take an extra combat. Go off like that, you can do that if you want. But even if you're playing her straight, like, yeah, you don't get to use your treasures that on the turn you attack, but it's fine. You get to still make a bunch of treasures. She's kind of like, what's her face? The Gruul one that whenever you attack, you make green and red. Rada? I think it was Rada. It's kind of like Rada. Rada costs 4. It makes mana, but only on that turn. You can only make that mana on the turn. You can use that mana immediately, but only on that turn. I think Ognis is a little bit more interesting because you use haste tribal, and while you can't use that mana on your own turn, there are artifacts. So you have like Metalcraft Synergy, you have artifacts that you can sacrifice for value. You have KCI or whatever for value. If you have like a Reckless Fireweaver or whatever, it's like super good. So like treasures have more inherent synergy. This will deal damage for each treasure that's entering the battlefield. So she's cool. I like her. I think she's neat. I will put her in the neat pile, which is, I guess, an A. A for neat. Next one. Oh, I really have to speed it up. My allergies are actually wrecking me now. Oscar Rubbish Reclaimer. This is Dimir, 5 mana, 3 blue and a black. Legendary creature, human wizard, 3/3. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each different mana value among cards in your graveyard. So it can cost down to 2 mana, at least for the first one. So 2 mana, down to 2 mana commander, which is pretty darn good. Whenever you discard a non-land card, you may cast it from your graveyard. Woo! This is really cool. So it's like a self-mill deck / a discard deck. Blue is the color of looting. So there's a lot of ways of just like looting your own hands, graveyard, whatever, for value. And then you can just cast a spell. So like, where's that Jace? Flip Jace is really good. Where are you, Flip Jace? Jace Vryn's Prodigy is really good. There's like Merfolk Looter. Looter Ilkor is really good with him. Merfolk Looter is really good with him. There's a bunch of looters. And you can mix in Madness. Yeah, Madness is good with him too. Being able to cast stuff from your graveyard is just good too. There was one that's like, if you cast this spell anywhere but your hand, you get to draw 3 cards instead of like draw 1 card or whatever. There's like cute little things like that. Desires? Oh yeah, that's fine too. There's one spell though. It's like if you cast it from somewhere that's not your hand, you draw 3 cards. Not hand. No, where are you? It's a blue spell. I know it's a blue spell. I'm not crazy. Yeah, see the truth. That's the one. I think it works with that, right? Look at the top of the blah, blah, blah. If the spell was cast from anywhere other than your hand, put each of those cards in your hand instead. So you get to draw 3 cards for 2 mana. That's cool. I don't know. That's fun. I wouldn't say he's like really opening up new archetypes so much. I guess maybe discarding is a new archetype. When you discard a non-land card, you may cast it from your graveyard. Are there a lot of other commanders that does this with like discard? I don't think so. Also, chat, by the way, there is a little bit of delay on on the chat. So I do read comments. I'm just a little bit ahead, you know, so don't get too frustrated if I don't read a comment in time. Oscar. I think he's pretty okay. I'll put him as an A. I like him. I think he's fairly unique as a commander. Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. He's aight. All right, Parnesse. Parnesse. The Subtle Brush. This is a Grixis commander. 5 mana. Oh boy, we don't see a lot of 5 mana these days. They're usually cheaper than that. Legendary creature, vampire wizard, 4/4. Whenever you or a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell of ability an opponent controls, counter that spell or ability unless that player pays 4 life. And whenever you copy a spell, up to 1 target opponent may also copy that card. They may choose new targets for that copy. This is like Grixis Group Hug almost. It's Grixis Politics, really. You can basically cast a spell like, well, you need to copy a spell. You need to copy a spell first. So that's step number 1, is you need to find a way to copy a spell, which Parnassa doesn't do, which is kind of weird. But it requires you to take an extra step to do anything really, where you have to copy a spell. So like Casualty. You need to cast a Casualty spell or something or whatever. You cast like a little chat with Casualty or a hello of like something with Casualty, one of these spells with Casualty, a Storm spell or whatever, and then you can cast Demonstrate. I like Demonstrate spells. This is a good one for it. Demonstrate. I think this works. These ones, the ones in the color. Anyway, you copy it. You can just choose an opponent to copy it as well. Now, obviously, you get full control over whether or not an opponent gets to copy a spell, and you get to choose which opponent will. So you can just be like, hey, who wants to work with me? I'll let anybody copy the spell if you target something I want you to target. So you use it politically, you use it to your advantage as an additional resource. So that's cool. However, for a 5 mana commander, I would have liked a way to copy my own spells. I would have liked a way to copy my own spells to trigger this ability very efficiently. Otherwise, I'm paying 5 mana and then I have to jump through another hoop to copy a spell just to use her ability. Like, this other ability is essentially like Ward 4, which is fine. Like, it's better than nothing, but like, I would have much rather replaced this ability with a way to copy my own spells. Maybe like pay 2 mana and tap this to copy a spell or something in order to use this ability, the interesting ability, more often. And the fact that she doesn't do that is kind of weird. If she was like 3 mana, I'd be like, all right, she's 3 mana. She can't do everything. She can't slice and dice. But at 5 mana, I want my commander to slice and dice. And this is like a 5 mana do nothing commander, which is not very appealing to me. I feel like it should have been 3, or better yet, 5 mana, but like replace this ability with a way to copy your own thing. So I don't really like her. I think she's a D for me. I can't see myself playing her without the ability to copy her own things. Anyway. Oh man, these allergies are wrecking me. Alright, next one. This is the face commander of the Bant deck, the Broker deck, or whatever. 4 mana. 1 green, blue, and a white. It's a Rhino Soldier. Legendary creature, Rhino Soldier. It's a 3/3. Enters the battlefield. Put a shield counter on target creature, any creature. Whenever it attacks, target creature you control gains trample and gets +X until end of turn, where X is a number of different kinds of counters among permanents you control. Parry is pretty cool. I don't think parry is very strong, but I think parry is very cool. It's very rare to see a commander that cares about all types of counters, like multiple types of counters. We see it very rarely. We've seen it in Voltron with Cathril. Cathril wants every single keyword counter on itself, or rather in the graveyard. But parry is a little bit different. It counts any type of counter, not just keyword counters. It counts charge counters, indestructibility counters, +1/+1 counters, -1/-1 counters, charge counters, and then whatever other counters that can be put on a permanent, which is cool. I like that. You don't really see that very often, so this is kind of new territory. The payoff is okay. He's just an Anthem effect. He just increases damage, which not that exciting to me personally. I feel like there's just better, easier ways to get more damage output than parry does on attacking. I like the shield counter though, so you can give himself or any other creature a little bit more resiliency against removal. That's really good. But for the most part, like I like this setup, but I don't like the payoff, if that makes sense. I like the idea. I would have liked the payoff to be a little bit better because there's a lot of hoops to jump through. To collect a variety of counters is difficult. Like, that's the reason why you don't see it that much, is because there's not a lot of ways to do that efficiently. But I like the concept. I wish it was a little bit more powerful. So it's an A. Or it's a B. It's a B for good potential. Good potential here. All right. Next up, Fabine, Boss's Confidant. 6 mana Naya. Legendary creature, Cat Advisor. 3/6. Creature tokens you control have haste. And it has Parlay. I like Parlay. Parlay is a fun mechanic. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each land card revealed this way, you create a 1/1 green citizen token. Then creatures you control get +1/+1 turn. For each non-land card revealed this way. So, in a 4-player game, Parlay basically is net card draw loss to you, because you're drawing a card, but each opponent is also drawing a card. So if you're in a 4-player game, you're drawing 1 card, and then you're down essentially 2 cards, because your opponents drew 3 and you drew 1. It's distributed, so it's not as bad as it sounds, but it's still not great. But the payoff here is that you get to make up to 4. I like Parlay when it's done a little bit more pushed. That's my caveat. I feel like this is not pushing it enough. So you get to make up to 4 citizen tokens, or get up to 4+1+1s, and your tokens have haste. So any creature tokens that you do make with this ability will have haste and immediately be able to attack. That's all right. If this was like 3 mana, I would say this would be pretty decent. I would still be cautious about the parlay part because I don't like going down in net card advantage. That's just not how I roll. But at 6 mana, that's like kind of insane. At 6 mana, that is too much mana. That is too much mana. I would not run this as a commander, that's for sure. I would also be very hesitant to run it in the 99. So yeah, no. Yeah, no. No, that's a D for me. That's a no. That's a no. Yeah, Adeline is 3 mana. Adeline was a mistake, or Adeline was fire design, rather. But yeah, this is 6 mana for, yeah. No, thank you. All right, next one. Quasar, Augur of Agonies. Quasar, 4 mana. It is Esper colors or Obscura colors or whatever. 1 white, blue, black. Legendary creature, Cephalid Advisor. 3/4, so big booty. Whenever you draw a card, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This is basically... you would have expected this commander to have come out like a decade ago, right? Like, this is a gimme commander, like drawing a card and each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. That seems like something that should have been printed in like Alara or whatever. So finally they got around to it. Nice and simple. Meh. I think this will make people happy. It's a very like simple design. Like, obviously Quasar is really good with like windfall effects. Obviously Quasar is really good with like, I don't know, Well of Lost Dreams. I don't know. You know, Well of Lost Dreams, you gain some life, you draw a bunch of cards. Quasar will let you keep doing it. So basically, like, if you have Well of Lost Dreams and Quasar and you draw 1 card, you basically get to spend all of your mana drawing more cards. That's cool. Necrology does not work. Necrology is not a draw effect. Necrology exiles cards off the top of the library and then puts them in. Sickening Dreams is good. Yeah, Lich's Mastery is also very good. Yeah, that's probably the best one, right? That's what everybody's been talking about. Whenever you gain life, you draw that many cards. And then whenever you draw that many cards, you gain that much life. And Lich's Mastery and Quasar basically lets you draw your entire deck and hopefully kill your opponents before you draw yourself out. Right? Like, that's the whole idea. Well, I mean, kill your opponents before you run out of cards. Obviously, if you have, like, Lich's Mastery and Quasar, you probably want, like, what's it called? The ways to shuffle your library, your hands and libraries more, like, commit. This one. You could, like, commit memory to shuffle your hand back into your graveyard back into your library and keep going. Necrology does work? Why did Necrology does work? What? No. Oh, Necrologia. Oh. Yeah. I thought you meant Necropotence. Yeah. Necropotence doesn't draw. This one does draw. Sorry. Yes. Necrologia does work. You are correct. Necrologia for a bunch and then drain your opponents. So Quasar's alright. I don't know. I don't care about Quasar, but like, I feel like Quasar should be a commander, you know? I think Quasar should be a commander and should have been a commander like a long time ago because it's so simple, right? Like, it's such a simple effect that people want. So I'm happy that it exists, but I will never play her. I will never play her because she's very simple and she's basically kill on sight. Like, you cast, you know, Lich's Mastery, you cast Necrology, you cast whatever, and you'll win the game, right? It's very basic, but I'm glad she exists. You know, like, it's an effect that should have existed. Yeah, it is kind of boring. It is kind of boring. I'm personally not hyped to play her at all, but you know, I'm glad she's around. She was a design space that was somehow overlooked. So, boom. All right, that's a good B. Raffine, Scheming, Seer. The only thing I've heard about Raffine so far is CDH, just because my Twitter has a lot of CDH followers, I guess. Raffine, Scheming, Seer. This is a 3-mana Obscura. White, blue, black. Sphinx Demon. Ooh, Demon. 1 and 4. Flying Ward 1. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature connives X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. So it's like go wide with connive. That's good. You don't even need to go that wide, actually. You don't even need to go wide. You just need to have some creatures. You just need to attack with Raffine. And you're looting every single turn. So you're like a looter Ilcore with just Raffine. Except whenever you're looting and you're discarding non-land cards, you get counters on it. So that grows your attackers, which is nice. And if you attack with multiple creatures, you get to loot some more. So this is like, yeah, it's kind of like Esper Edric, where you're focusing on reanimation, I assume, where you want to discard a bunch of stuff. You know, you can go like Madness. You can go Reanimator. You'll probably go Reanimator. 9 times out of 10, if I see a Raffine player, I assume they're going to be 9 times out of 10 they're going to have Razaketh in their hand. You know, that they're going to want to discard. They're going to discard this. And then they're going to like reanimate it, you know. They'll do that, some of this, some of that. What's the other Demon Lord? There's like another one that like also is crazy. There's like Legendary T Demon. What's the other one? Not Bells and Lock. Where are you? There's Razaketh. Oh yeah, Villas. Of course it's Villas. Yeah, so like, that's fine. Seems pretty easy to be really strong with. You could also go Sphinx Tribal, yeah. There is a Sphinx Lord, there's Unesh, but Unesh is only monocolored. So, if you want to go Esper Sphinx, that's kind of interesting. Like, Sphinxes are expensive, and then Raffine, adding reanimation to it is a way to get around the expensive stuff. Loot without looters, yeah. It's strong, it's a clean design. It's high-powered, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not something that I'm super excited about. I'll just put it as an A. I think it's more interesting than the stuff in B tier, but I don't know if I'd really get around to playing it, to be honest. All right, next one. Rigo, Streetwise Mentor. This is also a hybrid one. You can pay triple white, or you can pay green, white, blue, or any combination in between. Legendary creature, Cat Citizen, 2/2, enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. So if it would be dealt damage or destroyed, you remove a shield counter from it instead. Whenever you attack with one or more, whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with one or more creatures with power 1 or less, you draw a card. So if you have 3 opponents, you can draw up to 1 card per opponent attacked with a power 1 or less creature. So you can draw up to 3 cards per combat, which is good. Rigo is essentially Edric. So I like Edric. I like Edric so much that he got banned from Commander Clash from the very first episode number 1. I got Edric banned from Commander Clash. So I like Edric. He was one of my favorite decks for a very long time. A bit too strong for my playgroup, so I ended up taking him apart and putting him in my binder instead. Rigo is just basically banned Edric. A little bit more hoops to jump through. You can only draw up to 3 cards per attack if you have 3 opponents. And the creatures have to be power 1 or less, but I mean, that's not really a restriction because they were going to be 1 power anyway, 9 times out of 10 in Edric at least. You have access to white instead of Edric colors where you didn't have access to white. So you can run a bunch of like hate bears as well. Oh yeah, he's good in Arcades Defender Tribal. Yeah, he's good. So he's gonna do the exact same things as Edric does, where like you're attacking with low cost evasive creatures, drawing a bunch of cards, and tempoing your opponents, where you have a faster start than them. You have your card draw engine online, and then you have cheap protection, cheap removal, cheap everything to to slow down your opponents long enough to kill them. Edric, I would say, would be more of a reactive deck where you need to focus more on counter magic and ways of shutting down your opponent's threats as they appear. Whereas Rigo, when you have access to white, you have now suddenly a lot more hate bears that will work really well at shutting down your opponents while still drawing cards. So like, you know, where's not Hushbringer. What's the one? This one. Yeah, the Hushbringer. You can run stuff like Hushbringer, which Edric could not. So you can cut down on ETB triggers and death triggers while still drawing cards with an evasive beater. So I think Rigo is pretty darn strong. How strong is he in comparison to Edric? I don't know. But it's a very similar play style. Rigo also comes with a shield counter, which ain't nothing. You know, he dodges a lot of more common removals. So I don't know. I think he's going to appeal to a new breed, a new slew of Edric players are going to be rediscovering the archetype through Rigo. Edric draws for every creature. That's a huge difference. Yes, but also Edric draws for your opponents, which can be a hindrance, but 9 times out of 10 it actually helps you because then you're just making them attack each other, which is also great. I think Edric's going to be more powerful than Rigo. I might be wrong, but it's very similar playstyle. I like it. It's different too. It's like a new version of Edric. I could see myself playing it. I'll put him as an A or put him as an S because I would consider playing him because I do like Edric a lot. So like, yeah. What did you expect, chat? What did you expect? Did you expect me not to put an Edric variant in S? No, obviously not. He's an S. There he goes. All right, moving on. Rocco Cabaretti Caterer. So this is a Cabaretti / Naya X red, green, white legendary creature elf druid. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. It's a 3/1. So thoughts on this? I'm personally not super excited about tutors in the command zone, or super flexible tutors in the command zone, or at least I thought I was, but I don't know. I've softened up on that a lot. Like, yeah, it's a singleton format, so yeah, tutors are kind of weird in a 99 card singleton format, but at the same time, I think it's more how powerful the commander is as opposed to whether or not it's doing anything in particular. Like, I don't really care that it tutors so much anymore as opposed to, you know, what kind of tutoring does it do, how expensive it is, and everything like that. Rocco's kind of generic, so like it's very bland to me. It looks like a combo commander because you're tutoring up for any creature. It's not like, oh, you have to tutor up, you know, a druid. You have to tutor up a satyr that parties. You tutor up something that enjoys cuisine. I don't know. It's just like very generic. So I don't know. It looks like very generic. Do whatever you want with it. And I assume 9 times out of 10, if you build a Rocco deck, you're going to be going combo of some sort because you're looking for a particular card. You can also build Rocco as toolboxy. Next week's Commander Clash, / the one that I'm going to be recording tomorrow, is going to be me playing Rocco, and I'm doing something specific with it. I won't spoil it here. You'll have to see. So I do need Rocco's tutoring ability to make it actually work. So, you know, when I say I assume you're going to be comboing with it, it's because, hey, I'm going to be comboing off it. Rocco isn't an enter the battlefield trigger, or it is an enter the battlefield trigger, but it's also a cast trigger. It's kind of weird like that. So to get more use out of Rocco, you can cast Rocco, tutor something up, and then if you can bounce it back to hand, you get more value out of it. So you can like tutor up, what's a kitty? There's like a Temur Sabertooth. So you can tutor up Temur Sabertooth, and then you can use Temur Sabertooth's ability to bounce Rocco back to your hand, And then you can use Rocco again, continue casting Rocco to tutor up things, bouncing it back to hand with Teamer, Sabretooth, and having a fun day with that. I don't know. I think it's interesting. It's not exciting to me. Super duper exciting to me. Although, I mean, I'm going to try and do something cool with it. Yeah, you get Dockside with it. Blah. I don't know. I'm going to play it once and then probably never again. That's a B for me. That's a B for me. That's 7 mana, 2 to bounce. I assume. So the thing with Rocco is, yes, it's expensive to tutor things up with it, but if you're in a Rocco deck, you're going to be making a lot of mana. You're going to be making a lot of mana with Rocco because your commander is going to be your card advantage / tutor engine. So you can actually fill your deck up with mana dorks and mana, more mana than you normally would in a normal deck, because, you know, whenever you need to find your mana, or you need to find your card draw or whatever, you can just cast Rocco, and if you have so much mana and you need cards, you can cast stuff that will draw you cards. You know, you can get your Toski or whatever, you know, and then attack with your creatures, your mana dorks or whatever. There's like Regal Force. You could tutor up your Regal Force. If you're Elf Ball, you can just tutor up your Regal Force with Rocco. And then it doesn't matter if you have 0 cards in hand and it's just a bunch of random mana dorks on the battlefield. Your Regal Force, you get all your stuff back. So yeah. It's a good commander. I'll play it once and I'll probably never play it again. Yeah, Dockside, Teamer, Sabretooth. Dockside, I'm so tired of Dockside. All right. Next up, we got Cyrix, Carrier of the Flame. Finally, Niantic gets a Phoenix commander. I don't know why it's Rakdos. Phoenix is almost always mono red. I think they had a reason why. They said they wanted to add black as like an additional way to give it like some depth, I think. I don't know. I didn't buy it. I would have preferred a mono red Phoenix commander, honestly. But it is what it is. It's Rakdos, 2 black, red, legendary creature, Phoenix, flying haste, 3/3. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature card left your graveyard this turn, target Phoenix you control deals damage equal to its power to any target. Whenever another Phoenix you control dies, you may cast Cyrix, Carrier of Flame, from your graveyard. This is what Phoenixes are all about. Phoenixes return from the graveyard to either to the battlefield or to your hand. And Cyrix rewards that. And Phoenixes die for value, so you can continue doing that thing. And Cyrix rewards that too. So it does what Phoenixes want to do. I would probably build it like mono red. It feels weird having it in black, honestly. It does make it more powerful. Obviously, it's more powerful if you're in Rakdos than just a single color. But yeah. I would have preferred if it was mono red, personally. What else is good about it? There's like, you don't have to have a Phoenix leave the graveyard, so you can do things like Squee. You know, you can discard Squee for value, and then Squee will return back to your hands. Oh wait, no, that's end step. That's upkeep. Never mind, not Squee. Not Squee, something else that returns back to hand. I don't know, like a skeleton, the reassembling skeleton. You can do like reassembling skeleton, pay 2 mana, return it back to your hand before your end step. Oh, at the beginning of each end step. Oh, yeah, Squee actually works. Never mind. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know. It deals damage. It's repeatable damage to your opponents. Phoenixes are never really big. They're like 3 power is like where they're at. They're 2-3 power. So they're not going to be doing that much damage to your Phoenixes unless you're doing some shenanigans. But it's fine. And then Cyrix returns to the graveyard to the battlefield from graveyard. That's fine too. Oh, that's fine. It's all right. Yeah. I wish it was Rakdos, but I'm glad it exists, I guess. So I'll put it as an A. All right. It would have been an S if it was mono red. All right, Beamtown Bullies. Jund, 1 black, red, green, legendary creature, ogre, devil, warrior. Vigilance, haste, 4/4. tap it. Target opponent whose turn it is puts target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under their control. It gains haste. Goad it at the beginning of the next end step. Exile it. So you have a creature in your graveyard. It has to be non-legendary though. A non-legendary creature in your graveyard. You tap this Beamtown Bullies. You give it to an opponent. You goad it. It has haste. It attacks. And then bada bing bada boom. At the end of the next end step, it gets exiled. So you're basically politics, almost politics. You're gifting your opponents creatures, but they must be attacking with it just for a turn, and they're gone. I think this card is kind of cool. I would say this is a really unique design and a very cool design. I like it a lot. I'm less infused on how easily you can break it. Like, there we go. Took a while. It's really easy to break is a thing that I'm less interested in. Like Leveler, for example, if you have Leveler in your graveyard, you use Beamtown Bullies to gift it to an opponent. Well, now your opponent basically just loses the game because when it enters the battlefield, they lose their entire library. Their entire library gets exiled. You can Inverter of Truths. Enters the battlefield, exile cards from the library face down. Shuffle graveyard into your library, so it doesn't kill them as quickly as Leveler, but it pretty much does the same thing. You can make them just lose 2 turns straight up by giving them Eater of Days. You can also make them just lose the game immediately with Phage the Untouchable. If it enters the battlefield, if you didn't cast it, you lose the game. So there's a lot of ways that Beamtown Bullies basically immediately enters the battlefield, has haste. So you just have like some you lose the game creature in your graveyard. You cast Beamtown Bullies, it has haste, you immediately kill somebody. Oh, non-legendary. Right, Phage. Okay, so Phage, thankfully, does not work. But the other ones do work. So I'm not really that interested in those type of effects. I think it's very high powered. So like, I don't know, maybe Beamtown Bullies is strong enough that it's like CDH viable. It's definitely high power level viable. Like if you're sitting at a table with like Joyra and like, I don't know, Edric and like Hinata and stuff like that, Beamtown Bullies makes a lot of sense. But I'm more worried that Beamtown Bullies is going to show up at like mid-power tables and you're just going to one-shot people and you're like, yeah. Then that one person just sits out for the rest of the game, right? Like you took out one person, they're out of the game. The other 2 people are going to try their best to stop you. And if you get shut down, then now it's a 3-player game and one person's just sitting out of the game. And it's just like, that's not great. At a high-powered table, like, I get it. That's what you expect. Or a CDH table, that's what you expect. It's fine. But, like, I don't know. If this was, like, a mid-power game, that's where I'm worried about this card. And, yeah, you can play this deck fairly. You can say, you know what? I want to play Beamtown Bullies, but I don't want to play that style of Beamtown Bullies. Right? Like, I want to play nicer cards. Like, maybe I just want to give you, I don't know, the freaking, a Gearhulk. I'm going to give you a Verdurous Gearhulk, you know? Like, that's cool. You know, that's kind of benign. Or, I don't know. Whatever slightly, just like a big beater. But the thing is, I feel like if you want that style of play, you probably have better options. Like, you could just play like a Cardor Reanimator deck. You can play like a Cardor deck, and then you can give your opponent's creatures like the Hunted Skycle. You can give them like Knights with the Hunted Dragon, and then you can goad them with Cardor or something. So like those decks already exist. So like, I don't know. I feel like Beamtown Bullies kind of got ruined. Not ruined. For mid-power, it's kind of ruined because there's so many good insta-kill options with the Beamtown Bullies that I feel like it's just appropriate for high-power or CDH. Like, it's kind of like Narset, you know? Like, I get that some people like Narset, but, like, Narset and my master, but like, you could say I'm not an extra combat step or extra turn deck, and I'm just playing it for value, but like, if you just want to play it for value, there's so many better options. I don't know. So I feel like Narset is like Beamtown Bullies. Where like, yeah, you could just play Narset fairly, but like, why? Just play something else. I don't know. That's my opinion on Beamtown Bullies. Anyway, Beamtown Bullies, really cool design. Unfortunately, very high power levels. So I personally will never play it. I'll put it as a C. For I like the design. I think it's a cool design, but unfortunately, the card pool will make it something that I will never play. Someone who spent years building fair Narset and Narset isn't fair. I've tried to convince people that so many times. I've always had that warning. I try to warn people every single time there's a new person. Like every year, there's always going to be a new person like, I'm going to build the fair Narset, you guys. I'm going to build the fair Narset. And I warn them, like, you can't. You just can't. Just build something else. And then they build it, and then they tell me, I broke Narset. I tried really hard. It's fair, but I tried and I failed. It's like, yes, that's what happens when you have a really good value commander. Just don't. Pick a value commander that's not as good. It's fine. All right, speaking about really strong commanders, Tivit, Seller of Secrets. 3, white, black, blue. 6 mana, 6/6, Sphinx Rogue. That's cool. Flying Ward 3, Council's Dilemma. Whenever Tivit enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. And while voting, you may vote an additional time. So, when Tivit enters the battlefield for 6 mana, this 6 mana creature says, basically, you get to vote twice. So you get to get either 2 treasure tokens or 2 clue tokens or a combination of the both. But you get 2 of them, and then your opponents can either give you clue tokens or treasure tokens. Here's the thing with this card. Treasures are really good. Clues are very fair. So 9 times out of 10, this card basically says, when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 treasure tokens, and then your opponents, if they're smart, are going to give you clue tokens. The only exception to this is if, like, you have no cards in hand. If you have no cards in hand, then maybe, yeah, they'll give you treasure tokens. But 9 times out of 10, they should be giving you the clue tokens, because clue tokens are actually fair magic because you have to pay 2 mana to draw a card, whereas treasure just gives you mana. No hoops, no nothing. So this is, like, pretty ridiculous. And then every single time you're attacking, dealing combat damage, it flies, so you're going to deal combat damage. You're going to be making, like, 4 tokens. Right? No, 5 tokens, right? If it's a 4-player game, you make 5 because you get to vote additional time. So yeah, it's really good. I really like this commander because I really like the voting mechanic. I like it a lot. I've waited for a very long time to play a voting deck, some commander that leads to voting. I really like it. It's cool. I want to see more vote cards. Tivit is still, like, absolutely bonkers though. This Council's Dilemma thing, making 5 tokens, 5 artifact tokens, some of which are going to be treasure tokens, is so busted. It's so busted. Like, the only thing that's holding him back a little bit is that he's 6 mana. That makes him very almost fair. But basically, he is a kill on sight. Like, if you see Tivit, he enters the battlefield, he's going to get the 5 tokens. You know, he's going to get the 5 tokens. He's also very hard to kill because he has Ward 3, so, like, your Source of Plasters or whatever is now 4 mana. But he is insane. He is ridiculous. I can't wait. I can't wait to have the many games where people are like, oh, you know, he seems fine. He's not scary. Don't worry, guys. And then he just crushes everybody. Because guess what? 5 tokens every single combat ETB is really good. On top of built-in resiliency to removal. And then the voting part gets overshadowed, which I feel is like, this is the cool part of the deck. This is the cool part of the commander. This part where you get to change the vote, that's the cool part. But this part is so strong. I don't like that. I really don't like that. That the cool part of the card is overshadowed because this guy makes treasures. A lot of treasures. I wish I could put him as S rank because I'm so excited to build a vote deck, but he's just so strong. He's too strong. Like, I'm going to build a deck and I'm going to put a bunch of fun vote cards, and then he's just going to crush people because I'm making a lot of tokens and not voting. Man, I'm putting him as A, but I'm really disappointed. I wish he was worse. I wish he was worse. If he didn't make treasures, if he just made clues, he would have been pretty fine. But why? Why did he make treasures, dude? Ugh. Man, so close to being a commander I could play. Oh well. I look forward to getting crushed by him, though. Anyway, moving on. We only have 4 left. All right, 2 laws, clever conductor. I love the fact that it's conductor. I wish we had more conductor love in Magic the Gathering. Very underrated. Toot, choo-choo, rather. Hybrid, either triple blue or Esper colors. Legendary creature, human rogue. So it's a rogue. That's cool. When it enters the battlefield, it connives. That's good. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile them from your graveyard. When it dies, put the exiled cards with it into the owner's hands. It's Bag of Holding, guys. It's Bag of Holding. Look at that. You get Bag of Holding in the command zone in Esper colors. That's fun. Well, kind of. You kind of get it. You get this part. You get this part. You get this part for free, or rather, this part for free. That's fun. The only scary part is if Tolos gets bounced or exiled or just doesn't die. Basically, if Tolos doesn't die, then you're really sad because you probably put some really good cards under Tolas. But if all things work out well, like you just need like a Viscera on the battlefield, right? Like you just need something to make sure if all things go south, if there's a path to exile or something, a Sword Splasher is, you got to do the thing and you're good. But I don't know, I like this. It's very cute. It's very simple. It leads to discarding for value and stuff like that, and you get the cards back anyway. It kind of reminds me of, what was the other one? Oscar, except now it's in white. So that's cool. I like it. I think it's very neat. Yeah. I think it's fun. I'm going to put her, I think it's her here. There we go. Next one, Urbask, Heretic Praetor. We got another Praetor. The new Praetors are all about helping you and hindering your opponent just a little bit. But not as much as the original cycle. Except for Urbask. Urbask hinders about as much as the last cycle did, I guess. It's more cuddly versions of Praetors, I guess. Urbask, Heretic Praetor, 5 mana, legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, haste, 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, the next time they withdraw a card this turn, instead exile the top card of their library. They may play it this turn. So it's a good way of basically kind of messing with your opponents a little bit. Just a little bit. Like, they can't hold on to the card they drew, the first card they drew, but just the first one. Like, it's so it's very, very minutia, it's not super crazy or anything. Yeah, it's a little bit of annoying and a little bit of card advantage for you. I would have liked if this was Prosper wording where you get to exile the card at your end step, or no, main combat or main phase. The beginning of your main phase, you get to exile your first main phase. The beginning of your first main phase on your turn, you exile the card and you get to play it this turn. The fact that you have to wait an entire turn cycle to draw a card out of this kind of sucks. So I feel like that kind of sucks. And then the messing with your opponents, I wish it messed with all their draw and not just the first card they drew. That would have been pretty wonderful. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, if he was a little bit less mana, he would have been fine. But he's kind of underpowered. Yeah, maybe. No, it wouldn't make it an Narset. It would make you would still get the cards. Maybe it would be annoying. Whatever. I don't like him. My point is the current iteration of Urbask I don't like him. I wish he was stronger, but he's not. So D for him. D for him. All right, Vazi Key Negotiator. This is one that I like, but like I know it's not strong. Vazi is a 5-mana Jund commander, legendary creature, human advisor, haste 3/3. You can tap her, and target opponent creates X treasure tokens, where X is the number of treasure tokens you created this turn. And whenever an opponent casts a spell or activates an ability, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it or activate it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then draw a card. So, if your opponents sacrifice all their treasures to cast a spell or activate ability, you get 1 counter, 1+1/+1 counter, and you get to draw a card. But if your opponents are like, you know, they spend a little bit of treasure on one spell and they spend a little bit of treasure on another spell, then you get to draw a bunch of cards, which is nice. The tap ability is kind of nice, but she doesn't make any treasures herself, so she doesn't do anything with herself. For 5 mana, if only this tap ability should have said, create a treasure token, then target opponent creates X treasure tokens, where X is the number of treasure tokens you created this turn. Right? Would have been too much for a 5-mana commander? She should have tapped to make a treasure token as part of this ability. Like, she's 5 mana. Throw me a bone here. Come on. It would have been the easiest change, too. Like, this, I would have loved her. I would have loved her if that was the only change she made. She wouldn't be busted. Far from it. She wouldn't be busted at all. It would just be a little bit. It would be, man, I would have loved her. I would have loved her so much. She would have been my favorite commander if she was just a little bit stronger. Man, a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm putting her into the D tier. She does nothing by herself. Man, what a wasted opportunity. She's so cool, though. I love the idea of giving my opponents artifacts and then punishing them for it. And she would have been so close. Whatever. Next we have Fair Corvold. This is Corvold, but fair. This is Zayatora, the Incinerator. This is 3 and black, red, green. Legendary creature, Demon Dragon. 6/6 flyer. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice another creature. What do you do? Zayatora deals damage equal to that player's creature's power to any target, and you create 3 treasure tokens. Ooh. So, Zayatora enters the battlefield. On your first turn, end step, you get to sack something, and then you get to deal damage, so you turn it into basically removal, and you get to create 3 treasure tokens. Obviously, this works really well with Blitz, because you're going to be blitzing in big creatures. They're going to be dying at end step anyway. So, you know, you stack your triggers correctly, so Zayatora's trigger happens before you sacrifice it to Blitz. You sacrifice it to Zayatora instead. You deal a bunch of damage to a target. You create 3 treasure tokens, and you draw a card. That's really good. That's not bad at all. Yes, you could put Grafted Skeleton or whatever to infect kill somebody. It's good, though. It's very fair magic. It only happens once each turn. Like, you can Strionic Resonator, you can copy the trigger, but it's once each turn. It makes some treasures. It deals some damage. It's 6 mana. This is like super fair magic. This is what Corvold should have been. I think this card is like really solid. Yeah, it's more power matters. You want to be blitzing. Like, this is like a Henzi deck. You know, you want to be in a deck where Henzi will want to be in as well. You know, you want to be a blitz deck. You want to be a sneak attack. Like, ideally you get something like this. You got a sneak attack in here, you know? You get a sneak attack, you cheat something into play for 1 red. You know, it's going to be sacrificed at end step anyway. And instead of sacrificing it to sneak attack or blitz or whatever, you sacrifice Zayatora. You deal some damage. You get some treasures, and you just go on your way, and it's good. It's good. It's clean, good, clean magic. And so if you are interested in like a sneak attack deck, Zeotora is really good. I think I like Hensi a little bit more as a commander, but I would put Zeotora in the 99 at the very least. I like her. She's fair Corvold. It's great. All right. I don't think she's bad. This is a bad treasure card? No. No. I think it's fair magic. All right. There we go. Toot toot. We did it. We did it, chat. We got through all of them. Yeah. That is my end list. As I said before, this is 100% a power ranking scale. Objectively speaking, this is the law. This is actually how the official grading for all these commanders. So if you are in disagreement for any of these rankings, you're actually wrong, right? This is official, and it's power ranking. So this is 100%. S is definitely the strongest commanders, and D is definitely the weakest commanders, right? That's why C is Beamtown Bullies, because one of the weakest commanders, for sure. So I just wanted to get that clear. This is power ranking, and my rule is final. My rule is final. So if you disagree, you're wrong. And like and subscribe. No, I'm just saying it's a hype. It's my personal list. It's hype. It's a hype list. It's not a power ranking scale. It's what I'm personally excited to play. These are the ones I'm most excited to play with. These commanders, then these commanders, then these commanders, then finally these commanders. And these ones I'm not going to play ever. I know I'm never going to play these. I probably won't play C and D, actually. I probably won't play any of these. But I will play the ones between S and A and B. And these are the ones I want to play the most. That's the ranking scale. You can, you know, feel free to disagree. But I just know that I'm objectively correct. Anyway, that's it, everybody. That was a long one. Almost 3 hours to get through all of them. Not financial advice. Hashtag not financial advice. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Thanks so much for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed this tour of the new Capenna commanders right before we jump into Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate spoilers are starting frickin' next week. So we're gonna be getting another one of these tier lists in the near future, I guess. I don't know when that's gonna happen. I'm being wrecked by my my sinuses and my allergies right now, so I'm gonna grab like, I don't know, a pill so I can think straight. And get some water and stuff. But have a good rest of your day. Have a good Wednesday. If it's night, have a good night. If it's evening / morning / noon, have a good whatever time it is. And we'll be back tomorrow with a new short on this stream or on this channel. And then Friday's Commander Clash. I'll come back for Commander Clash as well. All right, bye. I am tired. Bye.